International. And it is my honor to introduce Jean. Also, Jean, thank you so much for being being volunteer to be our special guest speaker today. And she's going to talk about the joy of club building. Jean, floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And hello, District 100. It's just amazing to be with you. And you're all looking great for so early in the morning. It's evening for me, so it's I've been up for hours. So well done you for getting up so early. It shows your enjoyment of the Toastmasters community, I would say. So, we're talking today about the joy of club building. So before I warm up the slides, I guess I would just love to check in with you. What is it that you're interested in? Why are you here to find out about club building? What is it that draws you to this? You can enter in the chat, you can speak totally fine. Are you searching for joy in club building, Anna?
Good morning, everyone. Jean, I had the pleasure in 2016 to start a club at the University of Laverne here in California. And it was a joy to start this. It was my baby. I put all the effort I could to this, and I had lots of students. Well, I found that with the students is hard because they come and go very quickly. And so I with the leaders of the school said, well, can we include the alumni? And that worked a little bit better. But then even and alumni and staff, and that worked a little bit better, but then it didn't work anymore either. And so I just wondering why it didn't work. However, it is a joy to start a new one. We were active for 7 years, strong 7 years, and then I the everybody kind of moved away,
Sure.
and I had to close it. But I know what I felt when we started. I know the excitement, and I wanted that
Yeah.
again, even
Yeah.
though that had to close. I think
Yeah.
opening it was I learned so much from it, and I want to see if there is anything I did wrong.
Well, I guess what I would say from the start is I resonate with the joy, and we'll talk a bit more about that. And it's important to remember that, a club has a life. Not every club is going to live for a zillion years. Sometimes sometimes there are reasons why we need a different kind of renewal you know. So some clubs will stay forever. Some clubs, have a lifetime, like your 7 years. I think 7 years is still pretty great. Amazing what you can achieve in those 7 years. And then the idea is how do you just keep building so we're constantly renewing? So I wouldn't say you did anything wrong, Anna. I think that you created something amazing, and now you have that experience that you can bring into other things. Terence, what about you?
Well, good morning, District 100. I'm Terrence Winslow. I'm fairly new. I'm a member of the Anaheim Breakfast Club 3836. So I'm here representing that team. They nominated me as the vice president of membership. So why not actively get involved with learning labs and learning from the leaders who've been here? I was on an earlier Zoom coming out of North Carolina. I'm in SoCal here in Huntington Beach, but that Zoom is out of North Carolina at 8 a.m., but it's 5 a.m. So for me to get up at 5, I may as well stay on this day. And we were talking about the 10 characteristics of a
Uh-huh.
leader. And so I don't need to make any excuses. I spent 20 years in the Army. I've been
Uh-huh.
out the Army for 20 years. So I know I need to humble myself and learn how to communicate to a Toastmasters standard. So that's why I'm here. Thank you for your time.
Excellent. Congratulations on becoming vice president of membership early in your Toastmasters life. I think jumping into a leadership role is an amazing way to build your connection and amplify your growth. And yeah, I love your point about humbling yourself. The first time I needed to do a speech in front of lots and lots of Toastmasters, I thought, oh God, all these people are going to be evaluating me. I got over that. I just feel like I'm with friends now who, do have like really good public speaking skills, and they can probably think of 14 million ways in which I can be better. But I live with the idea that there's a kind of good vibe and good intention for us all. So we're all just trying to help each other get better and stronger. Let me share my slides. We can get into that side of things. So, the joy of club building. Why did I pick this slide? Why did I pick this topic? I picked this topic because I really do think that there is enormous joy to be had in club building. And sometimes when we think about club building, we're thinking, oh, this is really hard, and I've got to do it. It's part of my goals, And I really wanted to tap into what has given me joy and to help us all kind of feel the lightness of this thing that we're creating. So I would like to share some of my own stories of club building over the years and just try and kind of draw out some lessons that actually can help me, let alone anybody else, that that arise from these stories. So the joy. What are my sources of joy? I'm going to start off with the first club I ever built, and that's, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. Yeah, maybe a little bit less, maybe 14 or something like that. I was a brand new area director, and I was looking at the distinguished district program for the first time. And I was thinking, okay, as an area director, how do I get to be President's Distinguished? Oh, there has to be a new club in my area. Now, at this point, I was a bit scared, quite frankly, because I'm thinking, building a new club? I mean, I've done nothing about building new clubs. I was running software projects for a telecoms company. There was nothing entrepreneurial about that, I felt. And yet here I was with this goal of having an extra club in my area. How on earth could I go about that? What I have found over the years is that there are a number of sources of joy. So one is simply the joy of making something happen. It's just amazing that you start with, either nothing or just an idea, and then you've created something that has the possibility of enduring, like Anna's Club, 7 whole years of creating this amazing environment to help people grow. I discovered that I wasn't alone. That I wasn't just one person trying to do things, but actually that by being part of this, I could create community. I found out unexpectedly that even though I was a software project manager, I could also be an entrepreneur. And not only could I be an entrepreneur by building clubs, but it gave me the confidence to set up my own business, which really was not expected at all. And then finally, what has become clearer to me over the years is that when you're building clubs, you're part of something bigger. We're all part of something bigger in Toastmasters, and I want to talk a bit about that. But when you're building clubs, you're making that bigger thing happen. So these are the sources of joy that I would like to draw on today. So let's start off making things happen. So I'm a software project manager. I'm quite new to Toastmasters. I've just started to get confident in speaking up, still a bit shy about speaking to senior leaders. And I have this mission now to grow my area by one club. And I'm thinking, how on earth can I do this? And I'm looking around the area, and then I'm thinking, well, I am part of a big local government organization right here, right now. I'm sitting inside this organization. What if I tried to set up a club here? And what I found was that there were a few people around me who were also interested. And that gave me the confidence to start to reach out. And I spoke to the head of HR and I said, so would you be okay with this? And I was left a little bit kind of, oh, would it be okay? And she said, great. I mean, good education, not expensive. What was there to say no to? So I had her support, and off we went, and we started off this club. And one person who joined the club was my boss. And this was a lady that I didn't know very well. And so I was reasonably new to the organization, and so was she. And to be honest, I found her a bit scary. And I thought, oh, she's going to join my club. If she's going to join my club, I'm going to have to give evaluations for her. And she's going to have to give evaluations for me. I don't know about this. And actually, what happened was she joined the club. She had a great time. I got to know her well. We gave each other great evaluations and we became friends. And that friendship played into our work together. And we did some really great work together, I believe, because we built that friendship within our club. So I went from starting my year as an area director, still quite a shy Toastmaster, still quite new. I mean, there's a reason I'm a Toastmaster. And I went from that to building this club with the support of a whole load of people around me. And then, shock horror, going from feeling like I wasn't very good at my job because I didn't feel confident to speak with people, to becoming area director of the year in my district. It's like, wow, for me, the joy of that growth and that recognition from something that I couldn't even imagine that I could have anything to do with. So that is my first source of joy, that I made something happen. And that showed me something about what I could be too. So what are my learnings from this? It was absolutely key to build that team. I couldn't have done this on my own. So building that club officer team, all we needed was a few people. I think there might have been 4 of us. We didn't need a big team, just 4 of us ready to take on those key roles. And then we started to kind of draw people in from our departments. Come on, bring somebody in, they'll love it. Who would be good? Who would like this? And of course, because we were in an environment where we knew each other, it was easier for us to bring people in. Getting support was important. So going to the head of HR and getting her sponsorship. And then the key was, even when, in the early days, it was like, oh, well, there's only 4 of us. Can we really run a meeting? And the answer was yes, absolutely. You need to run meetings. You got to run it like a club, no matter how many people are there, so it becomes a club. So those were the big learnings for me in that first source of joy that I'd like to share with you. So are there any of these sources of joy, or sources of joy even, or tips and techniques that resonate with you as you look at all of these? Which one of these would resonate with you? Which one of these would give you joy?
Building a team.
Building the team, lovely.
Yeah.
Alina.
For me, I think the last point you said, even if it is just a few members who join in for a meeting, still go ahead with a club meeting.
Yes.
This is something that I think many of us can relate to. There are some times when you don't have all your members join in. Maybe it's a day where they have a lot of other meeting conflicts. And you have just like 3 people and 4 people joining in for your meeting. And you're like, okay, how do we go about this? We'll have to double up. Some of us have to double up our roles. But at the end of it, you realize that 1 hour is time worth spending in that meeting, because you've still had an opportunity to practice speaking. That is why we are all here in Toastmasters. And you've still had an opportunity to learn something new from the people in your meeting, something that they said. So I always believe in the fact that even if it is 3 or 4 people, still run a meeting, because you get a lot of joy from those meetings.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if people know they can rely on you to be there, then people turn up. If they're not sure, well, maybe they're not going to turn up. So create the space, build it, and they will come. There we go. Terence, what about you?
Just picking up on what Lena and you're edifying, run it like a club. I'm a part of the Anaheim Breakfast Club, and we meet at 7 a.m. on the dot every Tuesday. That's aligned with me very well as a military person. But again, sometimes that's not Tuesday, 7 a.m. It can be a challenge to get everyone there, but we do
Mhm.
get a lot of great people there. And it could be
Yeah.
small, but we're very impactful. So that really resonated with me because it doesn't have to be 20, 30 people, 10, 15. What if it's
Yeah,
just a small group and it makes an impact? So that's what
absolutely.
resonated with me.
Absolutely. Yes. And I do think that the discipline is important. If the club is supposed to start at 7, then the club starts at 7. People need to be able to know that they can rely. I think there's a massive thing about discipline when we're running good clubs. So making things happen, the first source of joy. Now, the next thing that I want to share with you is the idea of creating community. I want to jump forward a few years now. So I've been area director and now I'm district director. And I don't quite know how I managed to get to district director, but anyway, I got there. And I had the opportunity in a different job because I was doing contract work in a different company to run a speechcraft. Because people knew me actually from the other club, and they said, "Jean, can you teach us public speaking?" I'm going, "I can run a speechcraft." And the way I went about that then was I encouraged the people who had approached me to bring in more people. So we had plenty of speech crafters. And I also got some people from some local clubs to come along and support. So it wasn't just me, teacher Jean, but a group of Toastmasters kind of holding hands together with the people in the company. So we ran the speechcraft, and I'm delighted to say that by the time we got to the end of the speechcraft, the 8 weeks, people were going, "Okay, so now what?" It's like we've had our speechcraft every week. Now what are we going to do? So, happy news. I said, "Well, you could set up a club." And they said, "Oh, great. Okay, how do we do that?" Now, from that, we got this club that was active and vibrant. And I loved that actually this club met in a room that was really nice and bright and big. And everybody in the organization could walk past this room and see our club in action. So it was just an amazing space. I remember just loving being in there. So a couple of things happened out of that. One was that I was, by this point now, leading an organization-wide transformation. And this was, quite a serious business. So in local government in the UK at the time, there were a lot of cutbacks. So local government organizations had very little money. And there was a big need to reduce cost and find new ways of doing things. And I was responsible for this program. And because I was an outsider, people didn't really know me and they really just associated me with this kind of scary change program. But in the club, they got to know me. They got to know the woman who does the weird table topics and the kind of, creative things and, fun and sense of humor and energy and all of that. And I remember a lady from finance who was very unhappy with this change program I was running, who said there was like two sides to Jean. There was like the serious Jean and there was the Toastmasters Jean. And she loved the Toastmasters Jean. She wasn't so keen on the serious Jean, I have to say, and nor her program. But what happened was that because we were together in the club, we built the relationship and we built trust together. And that meant that when it came to the crunch time in the change program, she and I were able to sit down together and try and work through a good way forward. And that would never have happened if we hadn't been in that club together. The walls would have been way too high. But because we had that Toastmasters relationship, we were able to find a way through. And I found that in the years that I was in that place, time and time again, there would be people that I would be able to do good work with because we had come to know each other in our club. So that in itself gives me huge joy because, it's not, you don't want to be the serious person running the scary program and that's the only thing that exists about you. You kind of want to do good work that people, might even feel good about. And the club helped me do that. The club helped me be part of the organization. The other thing that happened was that one lady, I mean, at the time I wouldn't have called her a lady, she was in her early 20s. And, she seemed very young and she got involved in running the club and got more involved and more involved. And then, long after I had moved on from that contract, I heard that she'd taken on a senior project role in a different organization. I thought, oh, good for her. And she was still a Toastmaster. And then I found out that she was going to become division director. I thought, good for her. So delighted. And now she's district administration manager. And it just gives me enormous joy to know that from that club in her company that she did a speechcraft on, she is now growing and growing in her career and in Toastmasters. So for me, the key to all of this is this sense of community that comes out of maybe stepping out of our comfort zone and going, let's see what happens when we create a club, which is a home for community. So what are my learnings from this? So my first learning that I take out of this is do consider speechcraft. Speechcraft is, great on its own, but it's a really great way of giving people a gentle introduction to not just learning how to speak, but a kind of regular routine of coming back, of practicing speeches and coming in and getting evaluated and doing speeches and in and out. And that regular practice is at the heart of Toastmasters practice. So consider practice as a way in to enable that, and that people say to you, we need our club because we need more meetings. So that's the first thing that I would say. The next thing that I would say is, draw on the experience of people within the organization, and not just draw on the experience of people within the club, but then support them in growing further. Like my district administration manager friend. The other thing is, get people involved. Getting people from other Toastmasters clubs to come along and help me run those speech crafts meant it wasn't just the Jean show. It was lots of us, making this happen together. And, some of those friendships are super strong even to this day. I won't say any more because, we have elections going on in my district, so I can't say any more about any other people. But the final thing I would say is, show the power of all we have to offer. This idea of bringing what is within our club into a wider community context. My story is about my organization, or the organization I was part of. But, bringing that joy into the wider community means that, you're really being clear on what you're offering the world, I would say. So any of these or anything in that story around community that resonates that anybody would like to comment on? Which of these jump out to you the most? Anna.
Yes, Jean. I belong to a club, Master Motivators Club 7213, that I'm currently the president of. This club started 37 years ago, and since 2004, Toastmasters International has shown that we have been president distinguished every year with 10 goals completed, yes. And just 1 year, we didn't make it because of membership. One of the things that I did last year was not this term, the term before, I was elected the division director. And I invited people in my club I get people involved to be area directors. They were all from my club. It's not that I only wanted people from my own club. I tried others, but I really wanted to give two brand new, fairly new Toastmasters the opportunity to lead as an area director. And then I was lucky enough that two of my friends, that they are distinguished Toastmaster and higher up in leadership, to be area director, so that I paired them up so that they could help each other. Well, I got people involved and we did a great job, all of us, but it was a community. We were a group of people, all from my club, Master Motivators, helping each other, and we did well. I think that getting people involved and you being excited about it brings everybody up.
Absolutely. Amazing. I love that. I love that. And yes, the excitement bringing people up. That is absolutely the key, I think. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next piece now. So, unexpected entrepreneurs. So I mentioned I didn't have a sales background at all before getting involved in Toastmasters leadership. And really, as a shy person, the idea of being, doing anything entrepreneurial or creating something that would involve kind of bringing people in just seemed like, well, that's not me, that's some other person. And yet, what I found was that my preconceptions of what being an entrepreneur or being entrepreneurial, I had misconceptions about what that really meant. And also that I had all sorts of capabilities that were untapped or unrecognized that I could bring to the work of growing clubs. Now, only in like the first month, say, of my time in Toastmasters 20 years ago, I went to a division contest. My club president said, "Oh, we're having a division contest. Does anybody want to go?" And I'm kind of brand new Toastmaster. I don't even know what a division is, but I'm going, okay, I'll go. So I'm sitting in the back. I feel like I'm a bit of a kid because there's like my club president and his wife and me sitting in the back. I feel like I'm about 12, and we drive along to this division contest. And I walk in, and there's just all of these people who are super enthusiastic about speaking and Toastmasters. And what I find is that there's an awful lot of people in this group who are self-employed. And I thought, oh, interesting. Because, I guess in my world of, being in corporates, I hadn't really had lots of relationships with people who ran their own business. But here were all these self-employed people. And I think I just tucked that away at the back of my head. But that was the beginning of something for me. Because what I have found is that if you can run a club, you can run a business. Because what does a club have? A club has a president, a CEO. It has a treasurer, a finance person. It has somebody who takes care of the product, the VPE. They've got somebody who takes care of marketing and takes care of customers, a VPM. They've got somebody who does PR, so promotes the business. Somebody who takes care of logistics. Somebody who makes sure all the paperwork all okay. The secretary. So all of these roles that we do in running our clubs equip us to run a business. And if you can set up a club, you can set up a business. Because when you're setting up a club, you're thinking about, okay, so how am I going to make the money work? How am I going to charge in dues? How am I going to make sure that all of that, financial side is set up? What is my product? What is my unique take on whatever it is that I think my customers will want? How am I going to promote this business? How am I going to take care of my customers? How am I going to get customers to take care of? All of these things come up when you're starting a club, and all of these things come up when you're starting a business. So that had two kinds of outcomes for me. One was that when I became club growth director, also, I mean, there's a bit of a track history of me kind of taking on jobs and thinking, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to have a go. Anyway, club growth director was definitely in that department because, you know, I wasn't an entrepreneur, and yet club growth, you know, building new clubs across a whole district. Ooh. And yet what I found was that if you can think in terms of you know, geography and offer and kind of go, okay, well, if I need 10 clubs, then I'm going to need 20 prospects to work with because, you know, not every club turns into, sorry, not every prospective club turns into a club. So you just kind of go, okay, well, I'm going to need this many in this division and this many in this division and this many in this division. And that kind of strategic thinking and then building the team to go, okay, so who's going to be up for doing club building in that division? And oh, there's a nice juicy company over there. They don't have a Toastmasters club, but they do in that other place. Who do I know there? And all of that energy and possibility came out of, I guess, the opportunity to take on a role like club growth director and think about all of the different creative ways in which something new could blossom. The other thing that came out of it, and that's part of the reason that I have butterflies here, is that during that time I set up my own business, a freelance company delivering change for organizations and also developing people, training people. And my logo was a butterfly because I love this idea of going from the chrysalis to, you know, spreading your wings and, you know, creating something new. I cannot imagine any universe in which I set up my own business where I hadn't been a Toastmaster before, because being a Toastmaster gave me that confidence and that practice in creating something new in a safe, supported community environment. So for those of you who are thinking I'm not entrepreneurial, I mean, seriously, I would definitely have said that before. But now I can go, yeah, I can be entrepreneurial because Toastmasters has taught me how. So what are my learnings here? Covering all of the roles, all of the things that we do in Toastmasters helps us build those entrepreneurial skills, the ability to manage the money, to promote ourselves, to take care of our customers, all of those aspects, to be a CEO, all of these things we learn in Toastmasters. And that's super amplified when we set up new clubs because we have to build these things from scratch. Or kind of scratch because, you know, we know Toastmasters is cool, so that's a good start. We got to work the funnel. You know, if we want 5 clubs, we're going to need 10 prospects. We need to know where they are, what our options are, and work them, constantly checking in, working out what can we do next, what can we try next to make this work. And when you build that momentum, great things can happen. You've got to promote. So, you know, just like any entrepreneur, you've got to be out there promoting the thing that you want to bring to life. You've got to do the work to sustain it. It's not just a question of flicking the on switch with 20 members. Okay, great, it's done. I'm going to walk away. You've got to take care of it, like Anna did with her 7 years of taking care of that club. And there are opportunities to expand. If you build one club in a place and get that strong, that club can lead to another club, which can lead to another club, which can lead to another club. Just like if you were running a business, you start off with, you know, one operation, then you get another one, then you get another one, then you get another one, and then you're like super entrepreneur person. So any of this resonate with people? Any of these kind of entrepreneurial unexpectedness jump out to anyone? Thanks, Aneta. Excellent. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody who wants to comment, but you are welcome to. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. Now, being part of something bigger. So this is a photograph of the charter dinner of Cardiff Toastmasters when I was a club growth director. And that's me in the center of the picture. Sorry, the screen is over here for me. There's a picture of me in the middle with dark hair, in case you're trying to work out where the gray-haired lady's gone. So that wasn't my real hair color, by the way. Anyway, there I was as a, still quite shy club growth director, having sponsored Cardiff Toastmasters. Now, at the time, Cardiff was maybe a 4-hour drive away from me. So for me, quite a long way. The UK, I mean, 4 hours is quite a long time and the kind of long way in the UK. I know California, 4 hours is probably nothing, but anyway, it's a big deal for me. And I had gone all the way to Cardiff to support them in getting their clubs celebrated. And there they were, all happy, celebrating the achievement of bringing this new club to life. At the time, I remember talking about how amazing it is when you build a club, because you're not just creating a place for 20 or so people now. You're creating a place, a home for new generations of Toastmasters time after time. So over 10 years, countless people will not only have been part of that club, but will have also been affected by that club. I mean, how many of us might say that maybe we're a better family member, a better colleague, having been a Toastmaster. So the ripple effects are, I think, infinite when we set up a club. And I remember talking about that when I was a brand new baby club growth director. So I want to talk a bit about the big picture here, because so far I've talked about, things that have given me joy and, things that have affected people in my club and my district. But there is something bigger going on here. And, I don't know how many of you have read Toastmasters bylaws, all 87,000 words of it. However, I'm going to pick out a few. So, why do we have clubs? Going all the way back to Dr. Smedley setting up a club for young people to help them feel confident. Why do we have clubs? Through our member clubs, we help men and women learn the arts of speaking, listening, and thinking. Vital skills that, and in bold, and I have them in bold for a reason. This is big stuff. We're promoting self-actualization. We are enhancing leadership potential. We're fostering human understanding. And we're contributing to the betterment of mankind when we do this. Sometimes I think, it can be hard to remember, we're, I don't know, sorting out the club meeting, or we're trying to get somebody to take a role, or at the moment I'm trying to work out who's going to be Sergeant at Arms in my club next year. All of these things, we can sometimes forget that we're doing something really big. We are making the world better, one person at a time, when we build the clubs that we build. I'm going to come to you in a second, Safari. I just want to say one more thing before I hand over. So why do we build them? So we build them because it's basic to our mission that if we're going to be fostering this human understanding and making the world better, then we have to expand our network of clubs so that more and more people can benefit from what we have to offer. So when we are part of club building, we are doing something amazing. We're doing something really big. We're making the world better. Safari, did you want to say something?
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Nishako Murenyo. Sorry, my name is Safar Sumarika from DRC, Congo.
Hello.
Yes, hello. But currently living in Uganda.
Very good.
It has 1 year. I have created a new club of Toastmaster here in Uganda. And I have got already 15 members. But since I have created that new club of Toastmaster, I have never got support how that club can be officially recognized.
Uh-huh.
Because I was been looking the way how my club can be registered to Toastmaster International, but I have never get someone who can lead me. But after yesterday, it was last week when I saw this meeting online, I said, yes, that is my opportunity to see how I can introduce my new club here.
Amazing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think there's a couple of things. So one is that you will be part of a district, and I can share some information for you once I've stopped speaking. I'll find details of the district for you and put you in touch with leaders who can help you get yourself to the final stage. Because we're set up to support people to build clubs. You just need to know the right people to talk to. And there's also some information on the Toastmasters website that I can point you to. But there are definitely people around who can help you. And Toastmasters in Africa is just booming. So there's definitely loads of friends who are going to be able to help you out. Okay, good stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, here in Africa, people doesn't know Toastmaster. That's why we have to work hard so that we can spread Master around the world.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We need to expand our worldwide network. Everybody needs to know.
Yeah. Because even in my club, I have 3 women. They was also interested, and now we are all in our new club here in Uganda.
Amazing.
Yes, we are Congolese because here we live. We have so many Congolese. It's a part of Uganda, but we live. It was created in. It was around 2022 after shifted our country in Congo, and we came here in Uganda because of war.
Okay.
Now, yes, now here we have many Congolese now who wants to be a part of Toastmaster Club. Now I tried to inform that and to sensibilize them. They agree. Then I am the president and the founder of Toastmaster here in Uganda on the party we are.
Amazing. I'm going to find you somebody to connect with, Safari. So let me follow up with you on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so why do we build clubs? Because we want to expand our worldwide network, whether it's California or Uganda or Cardiff. We want to expand, right? So being part of something bigger. I shared that photograph of you with you of me as a club growth director with the dark hair, and you know, being part of setting up this club a long way away from me. And then about 5 years later, I moved to Cardiff. So I got to join the club that I helped build from a distance. And now this year I'm club president. So that's me in the middle with the right color hair, with my fellow Toastmaster friends, celebrating a vibrant club. So, you know, from those small beginnings, this club is just full of life, you know, continuing to kind of touch people's lives and help them grow. So for me, this is, you know, my personal experience of being part of something so much bigger. So, in conclusion, Toastmasters, of course, is amazing. Building clubs in Toastmasters is an extraordinary source of joy. When you tap into the possibilities of it and the lightness of it, and you held hands and do it together, amazing things can happen. We can make things happen together. We can create community that spreads not just in our clubs, but from there into our communities and our companies. We can become entrepreneurs, and some of us that will be most unexpected, and we can be part of something so much bigger. So now, ladies and gentlemen, that is for me the joy of club building. That is like being a 5-year-old splashing in a puddle and going, God, this is brilliant. So there we go. I am going to stop talking now, and if you have any questions, I would be delighted to answer them. I'm going to stop sharing.
Yes, Sarah, please ask your question.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
We can
Okay,
hear.
thank you. Thank you. My technology is not behaving at the moment, but I love it's not a question, it's a comment. I love the idea of the fact that you mentioned that building a club is like building a business. I can't agree more. I've never built a club and I'm not sure if I ever will. However, you know, I'm always learning, and hopefully I can apply the skill set that I'm learning today here to, you know, something that, you know, whether it be in Toastmasters or out of Toastmasters, I can apply it to whatever I'm doing right now.
Yeah, amazing. Yes, I absolutely agree. There's just so much that Toastmasters can enable for us in our lives and enable us to achieve for us and for others, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Good morning, Jean. This is Annetta
Good morning.
Work Sally.
Hello. Yeah, Annette.
I am just so excited about what you've shared, and I really appreciate, just as Sarah did, club building is likened to starting a business.
Yeah.
And there, I'm going to use that because I was just speaking to someone on my walk earlier this morning about her starting her ministry, and it was time. And she says, I have no clue. I just know I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, join Toastmasters. But now I see it's because you can learn and grow at the same time and develop the skills to be that
Absolutely.
leader. So thank you, Jean, for sharing the joy of club building this morning. And it really just kind of took the angst out of club retention.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think feeling that joy, just a bit of lightness, you know, let's do it together. You know.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Anything else?
Jean, I also do not build a club. It is one of my goal from many years, but it did not happen yet. Also, I really wanted to do a speech craft session.
Yeah.
These two are some top of my priorities, and I am going to make it happen. That is my next goal.
Amazing. Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. You see, there's just these possibilities that can just flow, you know, and you're surrounded by people who will help.
Yes.
Hello, may I say something?
Yes. Hello.
This is Girija Deshpande. I don't know my video. I have not been able to turn on my video nor my icons, so I couldn't show that I wanted to speak. Sorry for butting in.
Oh, fine.
5 years back, we started Eloquent Leads Toastmasters Club when the Toastmasters Rotary collaboration started. Rotarian, and then I founded this club with around 25 members who are Rotarians. And they said, we want to see how Toastmasters can help us become better communicators. And then later on, because they did not have any special curriculum for the Rotary members, some of them dropped out, some of them continued because they saw value in what Rotary's Toastmasters is offering. Some of them wanted some special curriculum for Rotary, which I have written to the Toastmasters and I'm working on it. But as you said, it is a great feeling to develop a club, to grow a club, to face those challenges that happen when you are having new members, to create the sense of belonging in the members, to make each other supportive of one another. It's really a joy. It is like building a family. That's what I've realized. And any one member's success, happiness, it brings us so much joy that you feel as though you have brought them up. That's the kind of feeling that we get. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm like a mother hen every time we go through the election process every year. It's like, oh, look
Yeah,
who's
election
coming through.
process, all
It's
the
brilliant.
contests they participate in contests and they come in and they're so excited. I got the third, I got the
Yeah.
second. Oh God, it's so amazing. And we have practice sessions. It's really lovely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
It's my absolute pleasure. Okay, I think I'm handing back to you, Amanga. I think we might be done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
I'm not able to disconnect my unmute my phone. So please unmute. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jane. All these great points we love to hear today, and it is very energetic. And thank you so much again. We had a fantastic speech and this session. And again, I'm very grateful to you join our Learning Lab session as a special guest speaker. And thanks again. Have a good rest of your day.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm starting my day anew now, even though it's like almost dinner time. So good to see you all.
We do have a couple of minutes. For next session, it is 8:52. But I can see Connie and Tom both are here. So let's continue our session. And I think all of you are okay, right? Connie, are you okay? Can you hear me, Connie? Connie?
Maybe Connie has just stepped out for a. Okay, I think. No, I
Hi,
think.
Connie. Can you hear me? I know Tom and Connie both joined, and I can see now Connie. Connie, can you hear me?
We'll get there.
Oh, Tom, thank you. Okay,
We will
so
get there. I'm just trying to log in.
no worries, no worries. I'm happy both of you are here. So, we do have a 6 minutes, but I'm happy to continue and I'm happy to start your session. I believe you both are okay, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I
I see you, Connie.
Okay, she's good. So let me introduce both of you and we can continue.
You can turn yours off.
How do I turn it off? I don't know what you mean by
I'll just turn it off for that way and see if that works. Go ahead, just put it up there. Okay, are we here? Uh-huh. Oh, we have to turn off one computer.
Yes, no worries.
We get the echoing here.
Tom and Connie Jameson, both distinguished Toastmasters, were featured recently in December's Toastmasters International magazine, recognizing their over 100 years of continuous membership in Toastmasters. Tom joined his home club, Riverside Breakfast Club, number 1348 in 1969 and has remained a member ever since. Connie joined club number 815 Burnt Toast in 1979 and also remained a member all these years. Connie has served as area governor, division governor, and won many contests in every category, including winning District 12 International Speech Contest. She served as Speakers Bureau Chair for District 12 for 3 years before Tom took over as Chair for the last 9 years. Tom has served in every district office, including District Governor of District 12, and was an area and division governor in Founders District. He received the Presidential Citation at the 2024 International Convention. Today, they will share with you many of the ideas and programs that Speakers Bureau has been responsible for during their years as chair. Many districts do not have Speakers Bureau. Tom and Connie believe it should exist in every district as a great service to the Toastmasters organization, individual participant, and the community. Floor is yours, Tom and Connie.
Well, wonderful. You talked about all that experience, but I don't think I've ever been to a Toastmaster meeting in my car. But that does need a little bit of explanation. The reason for that is we both are fervent members of a club that meets on Saturday morning. There is only one in District 12, and now under the new District 203, there will be two, as news to some of the audience. There's one in Las Vegas and one here, but we don't think we're in competition here, Riverside, California to Las Vegas. But yes, we are honored to be requested to speak about this, but we didn't want to miss our other meeting on Saturday morning, so we're going to be here until 10 o'clock, and then our meeting goes until 11:30. So we'll be late to that, but we will be able to share as much as we can because, as I said, we are both so passionate about what Speakers Bureau does. And so let me we're going to see if we can't balance this. Connie is here on the other side, but she's going to be able to show you and then show her. So we'll be packing back and forth. And one of the things I wanted to warn you ahead of time was that we probably will, after 61 years of marriage, we may very well interrupt each other from time to time, but it still works out. So we've worked it out to be able to interrupt each other and continue on. But let me give you a brief little history. Now, all districts do not have Speakers Bureau, and I mentioned that earlier. In fact, in my little bit of research that I've talked to a number of other districts and so on, probably most districts do not have a Speakers Bureau. I know District 100 does, and I was, without being able to see everybody in the audience, I'm just curious, is there any members, and maybe you can tell me if you see any hands that I don't see, of members in the audience that belong to a district other than 12 or 100? And they would belong possibly to a district that does not have one. So I'll give the sales pitch on why you should have one, but I will tell you about why it's important to have one. But I'll give you a brief history. When we, probably 18 years ago, we had a Speakers Bureau that basically all it was somebody collected names of people that wanted to go out and speak, and they contacted them if the opportunity ever came up. After that, two people became very passionate from my home club, 1348, a very good speaker and very passionate about speaking, and decided to restart it. And it started about when I was going through the chairs for district governor, about that time. And it got started, and they many times had to dig into their own pockets to pay for meeting locations. And so they were passionate about it and got it rolling and began having a process in which they would have people give speeches that wanted to become recognized as people who could go out and speak. I'll give you a little bit of a history there, in that once upon a time we have something called qualified speakers. You earn a pin and all that sort of thing. In order to become qualified in those days, after you gave your 20-minute speech, only the people who had already been approved in the past were able to make evaluative comments, and they were not allowed to say anything positive. Now you can imagine, you're excited about doing this, you go in there and give your 20-minute speech, and all these people who you respect, who are excellent speakers, and for about 10 or 15 minutes, they criticize you. I hate to use that word, but I notice it's in the actual legacy program. Ralph Smedley actually used that word, so it's okay, under exceptions. But anyway, they were not allowed to say anything good. Well, we're a little more generous than that, and so we allow our qualified speakers to say positive and corrective things. And so But that is still the policy. When someone goes to become qualified in District 12, they give their 15, 20-minute speech, and then they are only make suggestions of positive and improvement by other qualified speakers. And then when those people have all spoken their piece, then someone else, so they get about 10 or 15 minutes to hear what they might do to improve. Now, the big question is, it is a lot of work. And why have a speakers bureau? Well, my basic thought is that I think Speakers Bureau, we have a symbiotic relationship between the district. So we serve the district serves us. We operate under the permission, the support and encouragement of district leaders. And so we have that, and we make sure we pay that back in many ways. So it serves the order we should, I think is important, is it serves the member, which is should be all of our most important goal. It serves the district and it serves the public. And I'll tell you a little bit about why I think it does that. It serves the member because it gives them an opportunity if they want to expand their skill levels, they want to go beyond just being an international winner or a tall tales winner or a table topics or humorous winner. They want to be able to be a good presenter. And you think about it, probably being a good presenter is more important in the world of work than being a good 5 to 7 minute presenter. So table topics is also really important for the world of work, but if you're in leadership in your employment, probably being able to make a good 20-minute presentation. Also, I've always said you don't join Toastmasters to be an excellent speaker in Toastmasters. You join Toastmasters to become an excellent speaker wherever. And so this gives you the opportunity to go out to Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, and educational institutions, school assemblies, and that sort of thing, where you're capable of going in there and comfortably capture the interest of an audience for a longer time. Now, of course, in the end, you want to go maybe to an hour at some point, but 20 minutes is a good start to make sure you're developing enough interest in the part of your audience. And so it's good for the member, and it's also good for the district, because our policy is that when a speaker goes out, he's not selling Toastmasters. I've never sent a speaker out in all these years to go out and talk about Toastmasters, but they always mention their Toastmasters. And when they are awesome and they're better than any other speaker Rotary had in 3 months, that person was a Toastmaster. Maybe I'd like to be an excellent speaker like that too. So we're hopeful that even if the person in the audience, that Rotary rep or wherever it is, they aren't convinced that they should be a Toastmaster, maybe their brother or sister or offspring would be. So we've had that happen in the past. And it's good for the public. And take some of the topics. For instance, my wife, when she qualified, she spoke about the importance of giving blood. And then she took that speech out to the world and represented the organization, talking about why it's important to give blood. One of our speakers, he's an accredited speaker, Ed Eddinghausen, he's gone out and given a program on CPR. So actually people got actually certified when they went to this Rotary meeting, if they choose. And he talked about CPR, and he provided an extra public service because he gave this to a Rotary club with 50 members. And before he began to give up and speak, there is such a thing. Many places have a machine that will give artificial, resuscitation machine. And he had found out, and he announced at the meeting that, and by the way, it's really important to have these machines available in case you don't have someone who's a CPR certificate person, but it would be a good idea if the batteries were up to date, because the machine that was in that room was out of date and unusable. And so I think the service to the public, I bet that the next meeting that one was updated and it worked. And thanks to that presentation by Ed. So it's a service to the public and service to the district and a service to the individual members. So we need to talk a little bit about what the process is from District 12. We have some requirements to become a qualified speaker. If you have to belong, I have my notes here, so I get it all right, I don't miss it. I do want to brag a little bit about, there's a whole process in in recent years, we've got a technology whiz. Without me, it would not have happened. But because of COVID, we've had to video things, and a lot of things are available on YouTube. So you might go to YouTube District 12, and you can see programs from years ago, including more than 7 or 8 years ago, programs that we did in Speakers Bureau. And just this morning, I got an email from somebody who said, by the way, you misspelled somebody in a certain year or a certain month. And so we're going to try to correct that on YouTube. But it's amazing, all the programs. Couldn't believe myself how many programs we have put on, because I'd forgotten some of the things that we had done. But we do YouTube everything. And now that we have the new district with twice as many clubs, and half of them 200 miles away, I'm sure that in the future, many more will begin attending by coming online, and they won't be driving from Las Vegas to attend in-person meetings. By the way, we meet in person at the Veterans Administration Hospital, and we have had, believe it or not, and I will mention that later, but as many as 100 people in person attending the meeting. If we had some big name speaker or something like Daniel Lamont, when he was alive, we would have world champions and that sort of thing. But the program that you have to attend 5 meetings, you have to have a qualified speaker as your coach to introduce you. They put their reputation on the line, saying, I think John Smith is good enough to be a qualified speaker, and I'm going to introduce him and give him his introduction and give the topic that he's going to talk about. So they have to have a qualified speaker, and then they need to get a 2/3 vote of the audience. Now, the educational requirements are under the legacy program, a competent communicator and working on a CL. But most people nowadays are in the pathways program. You have to have a level 2 under pathways. And of course, all DTMs are qualified. And the vast majority of our qualified speakers are DTMs already. So that's natural for them to think about taking the extra step to grow a little bit. And the presentation is 15 to 20 minutes long, and then they're given an evaluation. They have to have a 2/3 vote. Now, we've only had one person ever qualify by speaking online to qualify. It could happen, and it'll probably happen a lot more in the future. I personally am totally in favor of in-person speaking. And one little interesting twist I've been able to notice that those people who attend online are much less likely to say, yes, this person did a good job. In fact, we had one case in which the majority of the online participants voted no, but the overwhelming majority of those in person voted yes, and the person still got their 2/3 vote. So kind of give you an idea about presentations need to be good online. Probably they need to be different kind of preparation. I saw last night someone who I would have recommended who could do it online, but he will be doing it in person. So certain things are different. The technology is different, the presentations are different, and so on. So they have to go through those things, and then they have to maintain by continuing on. And part of what I said is the service to the district is people might become called upon to speak at the district. And if you're the program quality director and you're putting on a training for officers training or something, I call on John Smith. He's a qualified speaker. I'm comfortable that he's going to go in there and do a good job and comfortable, and he's organized. He's already proved himself as a presenter. So those are that helps the district in that respect, let alone the publicity factor and the positive image of role model that you build. So if you maintain yourself, if you have to maintain a membership. We've actually had people that only renewed because they didn't want to be taken off the qualified speaker list. Okay, if they end up being qualified, they get a pin. Now, I don't know if I can show that well enough, but there's a little pin there that says QS. District 100 also has a pin of a different color. And this coming meeting in April 6th, May 6th, we will have one of your qualified speakers coming to become double qualified. I don't know, we could get 2 QSs after her name. I don't know about that, but anyway, Forrest Baird, one of your QSs, will be coming to be qualified, and I am assured that he will be able to be qualified. I think your Speakers Bureau chair in District 100 is also a qualified speaker in District 12. And let me brag a little bit. Mark and Karen Lucas told me they got most of the ideas for when they started the District 100 Speakers Bureau from what we were doing in District 12. Now, I must be also, my ego is hard to admit that I should do this, but there are other Speakers Bureaus around the country. And some of them do things better than we do. It's hard to admit that in public, but they do. And they have maybe websites that include the videos of each qualified speaker, so that if some outside organization wants the speaker, they can contact the person directly, which would be a nice thing to do if we had a greater staff. It does take a few people to do some of these things. We have a publicity person that puts out flyers about the meeting and what's happening at the next meeting. And we will get to some of the programs. I want to have Connie come in here and speak a little bit about some of those things, but I'll mention the final about you have to maintain a membership, you have to continue going, you need to go to a certain number of meetings. Some of those meetings with COVID, I'm allowing to count as going to a Zoom meeting, and so you come back and let me know, yeah, I meant the meeting in March, and I couldn't come in person, but I went later and saw it on Zoom, and so you still get those credits, and you're still doing that. And the same thing would apply to becoming qualified. So I allow them to see past meetings, especially those in which someone qualified, so they know what's expected of them. And over the years, I would say the majority of our people who seek to become qualified can. Now, if you do not make it, you can wait 2 months. By the way, you can have more than one mentor. You want to have 5 of them suggesting. We also have a club in the District 12 called Fantastic, spelled with a P, Fantastic Communicators, that basically is the proving ground. They meet the last Friday of each month, and the Speakers Bureau meets the first Wednesday of each month. So almost always they give their final speech online at Fantastic. That club has 5 or 6 or 7 QSs in the room, and so they get to kind of have a dry run about what's going on. So they'll have a feeling as to whether maybe they need to tweak this or add this or whatever it is. And with that, I better stop talking for a while and let's bring my wife in to talk about some of the programs. She's probably the more creative one, has come up with some great ideas and was the Speakers Bureau chair before I was. And so you can talk for a little bit. Connie, you want to share some ideas? Just move it right over there so they see you instead of me.
Hello. I was holding the iPad here for Tom, so I think I've built up some arm strength. Yes.
No, me to hold it for you.
Well, let's see how this works. Right. Okay. I can see myself there in my little box, so I think I'm seen by the audience there. I think I would like to share about some of the programs, as Tom mentioned. We've had such a variety as we started thinking about what we've done. We've allowed so many people to share their interests, their areas of expertise, and that just widens one's horizons. When you're in a particular club, or as many of us are in multiple clubs, we learn from, we're educated, we're able to find out about programs, about the individuals in our clubs. But Speakers Bureau just widens your horizons because you get to meet people from other clubs, people who have had other experiences, who are passionate about their subjects that they like to share. And some of the programs we've had, I'll just mention, and I'm sure I'll leave many out. We've had programs for published authors and people coming in and sharing about their books, what they've published. Now, as an aside, because of that, we can then also promote a special club. For instance, when we had the authors program, then we can say, well, if you thought about being an author, or perhaps you are an author, guess what? We have a Readers and Writers Club. Or if we have something along the lines of, let's see, about health. Somebody's giving a presentation about physical health or mental health or whatever. Oh, guess what? We have a specialty club in our district, Survivors and Thrivers, or Health Happy. There are a couple that focus on that. So it's a way to promote your club if people want to find out more about it. I've noticed that as we've had our special programs at Speakers Bureau, at the conclusion, oh my gosh, there is so much interacting, so many people coming up and wanting to know a little bit more about the presentation, or can I get in touch with you, or can you come and speak to my club? So this networking that goes on is so valuable for the people giving the presentations, but also for those that are looking for new presentations, new people to come and present at their clubs. One thing I was talking to Tom about this morning is I'm a rather hesitant person as far as having people come and share if I'm not sure about the subject. I'll give you an example. Maybe I want to know about insurance, but I don't want a hard sell. I'd like to know a little bit more. Is it a good idea? Do they have fire insurance? Or I perhaps should have a taking into account my getting a little older, maybe a trust or whatever, but I don't want somebody coming and kind of high pressuring me. I feel uncomfortable. Well, that doesn't happen. We really emphasize if you come and you have a business, if you come and you have workshops, if you come, you have a book, it's not supposed to be a hard sell. You're supposed to sell this by your presentation. In fact, as I think Tom mentioned, we don't even hard sell Toastmasters. We don't go out unless it would be requested. We don't talk about Toastmasters organization itself, but because we're Toastmasters and we're giving a good example of presenting a subject, it's mentioned that we are Toastmasters and people can come. So if somebody came, I remember Tom mentioned somebody talked about umbrella policies for insurance. Very informative. We found out what the person's particular company was, but we would certainly frown upon somebody trying to sell his own business or workshop or something that you'd have to pay
Probably
to attend.
the most controversy we ever developed at any of our meetings in 10 or 15 years or so is that we were putting on that someone came in and actually tried to sell something.
Oh, sorry about that. Somebody's at our club, arriving for the club meeting.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So anyway, someone did spend maybe 10 minutes of their program trying to sell something, and we just got all kinds of negative commentary about that. This is not what we're here for. We didn't come here to be sold something. So of course, if you have a world champion or something, they're likely to say, well, I have a book or something, it'll be available in the back, but not really allowed to even force feed that to anybody, just saying it's available, that, and that it is a given, and you don't want to go out there and do the same thing and we speak to Rotary and get invited back. Go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in.
Yes. We found out that districts very often don't have humorous as one of their contests and don't have tall tales. So what we did was they were talking about going dark for December or maybe August. So we thought, well, no, let's not. Let's fill it in. So now for several years, we've had a humorous and tall tales contest at competition, excuse me, at Speakers Bureau for December.
And trophies.
We have trophies and they're recycled. People say, oh, I'd like to donate my trophy. So we put new plates on there. But it opens people's eyes about what those contests are, particularly tall tales. A lot of people are not aware of tall tales. So it's a very enjoyable meeting and they learn about it and they may want to go back and have people in their clubs do some tall tales or
in most of the years of Toastmasters, they had contests in the fall and the spring, and in their infinite wisdom of international has decided only to have contests, or most districts, not all districts, are only having contests in the spring. And I think that is I really believe that's a major problem, not having contests in the fall and the spring, because I disagree, because I think that's where leaders are made. Believe it or not, leaders are made there, because where does that first person ever do anything leadership wise is when they're asked to come out and sell tickets at the contest, or welcome people in, or check people in, or be the MC of something. That's their first step out into something beyond their club, and so that's where you begin to develop leadership. And because of not having as many contests, you don't get people even hearing what a tall tale is. And we mentioned one of the programs. We had a training program on how to do tall tales, which probably 90% of the people, and maybe more, don't have any idea what to do about tall tales. Same thing, we had programs on evaluation, how to be a great evaluation. We brought in only district evaluation winners to come in and talk about how to give great evaluations. That does more than just prepare people to win the contest. It makes better evaluators when they go to the club, because they've seen the experts. What do they look for when they do evaluations? Everybody isn't humorous. We had one humor themed meeting where everyone that came was required to bring 3 jokes. Oh, I can't tell a joke. They would say, well, you still bring one. It's your turn. What is it? And so I believe Toastmasters, you want to be good at everything, and everybody should be able to, on the spur of the moment, at least have one joke they can tell and sound like a professional speaker that we're all supposed to be trying to achieve, to be able to give good evaluations, to get tall tales, be able to be creative enough to be humorous, and even to tell a joke. Back to you.
Back to me. Some of the programs we've had, we made a listing here, and there are some we've missed. Mother's Day, Father's Day. Some of those are so touching. People get to share their own stories about
like 15
themselves.
Little 5 to 7 minutes.
And at these programs, it's not just for the qualified speakers to speak, but anybody and their shorter presentations. So we get to hear lots and lots. One of my favorites was World Cultural Awareness Day, where we had speakers from all around the world and their backgrounds.
Each person from one country, only one country.
And we only had one person from each country, so we got a wider variety. One meeting was totally devoted to Pearl Harbor. It happened on the particular day, so we had a wonderful program. Oh my goodness, with music and impersonations and all kinds of things going on.
A 95-year-old Toastmaster who'd been in Toastmasters for 35 or 40 years, who had actually been a Second World War pilot, bomber pilot. So I got to hear how he learned about. He was in Iowa and didn't even know there was a war going on, and so on. So interesting facets. And we had music and run by a past district governor, Kent Peters.
Some others, as I mentioned, school stories, people telling stories about their school experiences or favorite teacher, or maybe they were a teacher themselves. As Tom mentioned, when we have something like Tall Tales, humor, evaluations, we will very often have the month before people, a panel or whatever, sharing information. So you learn about doing better evaluations, and that can be, of course, taken back to your clubs and certainly help them in just their weekly meetings. We had a debate demonstration, and Tom debated a young man who was, what was he about?
It's about 20, 22, but he was a qualified speaker. We're going to talk a little bit about the individual presentation, but he's the youngest qualified speaker ever. He qualified at 18. Before that, the lowest had been 22, but he had been in gavel clubs for years and years and years. And so he had gone out and won Rotary and Lions, won $5,000 scholarship in a Lions contest. And he joined Toastmasters and qualified at 18. But anyway, he was in the debate club, and we debated a topic that night was chosen by the audience. And then they chose which side we were each on. And as much as I hate to admit it, I've been in the debate club for 25 years and he won. So maybe they were just picking on me. Who knows? But anyway, that was fun.
Now, if it were a debate demonstration meeting, then who knows? Maybe some people would go back and have little mini debates in their own clubs. So you just don't know how these continue on, because it's educating people, it's entertaining people, it's making the connections, expanding your horizons. All of these come into play when you have these special programs that allow either longer presentations by QSs or those seeking QS status, or just as we said, allowing many more of 5 to 7 minute presentations that allow people to get up on the big stage, but we get to learn about one another that wouldn't happen in our own individual club or clubs. And so I think that is a great value. You get to promote your club, and also we sometimes invite, well, we always do, but I mean, we make a specific effort to invite the community to come. And Tom will be probably talking about an upcoming one of AC Interview, where we will try to reach out to community groups, but also the high schools and colleges, because we need to keep, of course, getting younger members to come and join Toastmasters and for them to see the value of the organization. And
you mentioned the big stage that we happen to have for our room. It holds well over 100 people at the VA hospital. And so that makes it just the fact of being on stage and be able to speak to a large room is something that very few Toastmasters get the opportunity to do.
did you want to talk about individuals?
I have more program. You didn't get all the programs.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, you're gonna hold it for me. Let me get to some of the programs that you didn't get to. And she mentioned World Culture Awareness Day. We were able to reach out and actually get some people from around the world that came in and spoke, because with Zoom you can do that. And so we got people coming in and speaking. As we said, each of these programs we would have, you may not believe it, in a 2-hour program, be able to get in 15 speakers or 16 speakers, 5 to 7, and there's no fancy introductions. You your speech title and speak, and speech title and speech, and you squeezed in that many speakers. No evaluations. They have written evaluations, and so, well, the extra bonus for the district might be a whole lot of people and getting a lot of pathways in. So that's a regular speakathon where they have a lot of people speaking and get those things in. Let me mention some of the programs that we didn't do. Our leader here might be interested in, well, meet your district leaders. Now, they get to talk at various occasions, but they might not get 20 minutes to talk to the district people. And if you want to get to know your district leaders a little bit better, that would be a perfect program you might think about doing in your district. If you're having a Speakers Bureau program, meet your district leaders. We had another one that was meet your past district directors and district governors. And so they would all be, some people, once they're ridden off into the sunset, might be proud and feel good about being asked to return to talk about Toastmasters, talk about their experience, or even what they've been doing since then. So we'd be thinking, oh, I remember so-and-so, she was district governor 8 years ago, and I wonder what she's up to, and she's going to come in and talk for a while. So they would get fairly short presentations depending on how many signed up. And you have to be able to be like a cat and land on your feet, because if we schedule these 17 speakers, we fully expect there'll be 1 or 2 that, for instance, something came up, got stuck in traffic, whatever it is, they don't make it. But a couple of one of the programs we did, which you might be a little bit fearful, we put on soapbox speeches. So there was no limitations on what you talked about. So you have some political position you want to take. I really believe, and the ones that stuck in my mind was a guy who was in the lawn industry and talked about the positive aspects of Roundup. So what? Everything I've ever heard was negative about Roundup, but he came in and talked about Roundup. But 15 speakers getting up on their soapbox talking about whatever it is. One of them, we put together 2 or 3 clubs, 3 or 4 clubs, I think, that were always President's Distinguished. How did you get to your club to President's Distinguished? There's a service to the district where there's a workshop. You can come in for a couple of hours if you're interested in improving your club's standing in the world. What do they do that always works for them? We had another contest in which there are 3 or 4 people, 4 or 5 people there that had won a total of 15 or 18 district international contests, coming in to give you what's the secret of becoming an international winner. I said training on tall sales, one on humor and tabletop competitions, and and we had civic people too. We've had Toastmasters who, for instance, were mayors and city council people and that sort of thing, and how they took their skill of Toastmasters on with them. And we had one with disability awareness, because we had someone who was one of my qualified speakers, believe it or not, was designated as autistic when he was 5 or 6 years old. And we have a lady who is blind and has spoken to national organizations for the blind. And she came in and is a qualified speaker. And she was, so that evening was dedicated to disability awareness. And then we had one other speaker that time too. So wonderful program. We have wonderful program to offer. Let me go over some of the people who are qualified speakers. I'll only be able to give you a little bit about that. And by the way, we are not so organized that we can't be interrupted with questions. And so I'm going to have to make sure you let me know if you have some questions. But I want to talk about some of these people. One of them, as I said, one of our qualified speakers is Dr. Michael Alexander, your Speakers Bureau Chair. I think your last Speakers Bureau Chair were two district from Richard Snyder, International Director Richard Snyder, and David Flores. So they're members of your District 100 Speakers Bureau, and they were chairs last year. So that are our qualified speakers within District 12. Another one, we have a couple, and they're both qualified individually. They had to qualify individually, but he's an attorney who specializes in negotiations and so on. And they gave a speech on a longtime married couple on marriage and family and that sort of thing. So that was whatever. We have two accredited speakers. One of them is Ed Eddinghausen, who does his speech, and we've taken him out to the world. And I mentioned Ed giving his speech on CPR training and getting people qualified. Of course, Connie has written a number of books, and she talked about writing books. Believe it or not, one of our qualified speakers lives in London. Remember, they have to be a member of a club in District 12, and he did that just so he could compete in the District 12 speech contest. He has won the district, that is Great Britain, a number of times in international speech and humorous and all kinds of things. And he is a member of our Speakers Bureau, and has actually, when he was here in the country, and he comes often, has gone out and spoken to Kiwanis and Rotary and so on. We have a person who spent 7 years in jail. And Daryl Zeller, one of our people that has spent 30 years conducting gavel clubs in the prisons. But anyway, this person was in one of those gavel clubs, and he was there for just three or four meetings when he was in jail out at Chuckwall, out by the border. And he was so impressed that even though he was continued to be locked up for 5 more years without a Toastmaster club, he knew that's what he wanted to do. And when he got out, he joined a Toastmaster club and belonged to it for a year, paid his dues, even though he was still living in his car. And he's gone out and talked about turning your life around and how Toastmasters had a major impact on that. But the fact that, you can take people who have had those negative situations in their lives, and that's very inspirational when he goes out. I mentioned Ryan Odman, the person who was designated as autistic. He qualified at 22. He was then the youngest ever in history. And I mentioned Nathan Sonda, what made it at 18. Ralph Rivers he belongs to this club that we're here right now, and he's a minister in a black church, and has this awesome memory and awesome vocabulary. He's been a Toastmaster for 50 years, and does everything. He invited us to his church one time, and we went and heard him give in its entirety, the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech. Well, I'd never heard the whole speech. We all know the quotations. "I have a dream." We did not know the whole speech, and it was just amazing to be there. You felt like you were back in Washington D.C., 50 years ago. So he goes out and is often requested to come to clubs and organizations right around Martin Luther King Day and so on. So he does some great program. We have. What I mentioned, Daryl Zeller, who has been for 30 years, has been running gavel clubs in prisons. And one of the things he does tell, which should be impressive and a reason for a district to support gavel clubs, especially in prisons, he said, in all of the years of all of the clubs, of these multiple clubs per week often for most of those 30 years. He's only ever had one participant come back to jail. The recidivism rate was next to zero, and typically it's more like 60 or 70% in state prisons. But once they get exposed to possibilities and get new looks about life, they don't seem to come back. And of course, the terrible story about that one that returned, that person was in a Toastmaster club, and the club invited them after the meeting to go someplace to celebrate, and they went, but they weren't supposed to be in a place that served alcohol. It was found out, and they were sent back for a few months because they joined the social gathering of their Toastmaster club. And that's the only person that ever returned. One of the stories that is, and the stories are what amazing, and they go out to speak, and it's amazing. This particular person I'll talk about, and this is the last of the people that I'll talk about, is Hilda Valenzuela Wetland. She's was 14, spent 7 months in the Peruvian embassy in Cuba under Castro. It was religious, and religious people were poorly treated in school and everywhere else. And so they were figuring out some way to escape, and 10,000 people were within the walls of the Peruvian embassy. And for 7 months, never changed their clothes or took a shower and hardly ate. And some died, and some gave up and went back to live under Castro's Cuba. But she escaped. They finally put him in a boat that she claims that the Cuban people, government thought it was going to sink, and they were saved by American service people, and her father was saved. And so she's probably the greatest patriot you ever met in your life, and is here in a successful life. But she goes out and speaks. But one of the things, as a retired teacher myself, she went and spoke to a high school assembly. And she said when it was over, the principal came over and talked to her, and she said, "Oh, it's amazing. It was an amazing presentation." She said, "The kids paid attention." She said, "They never pay attention during assembly." And I know that's the case. Too many assemblies occur and people aren't paying attention. And so the possibilities of improving the community, improving the district, and raising the bar in terms of what Toastmasters could do for you, and for the world around us. So all there. Okay, I think we have consumed a whole lot of your time and not spent much time listening. So I think listening is important. So let's anybody with comments or questions or.
Oh, so
Okay.
9:30.
I just want to check the time.
Any
questions?
questions, or shall we share a little bit more about future plans? Or
Please continue. Yes. Yes, Tom, please continue. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have.
When they have the question, I answered in the chat.
Oh, well, I'm not able to look at the chat, but
yeah, no worries. That's why I took care of it.
And I did want to mention that one program that we talked about, and that is the one that we're planning for the future. And if we have ideas from you, I would like to hear ideas from you about what future programs. It looks as though even with the new district that we will continue to exist. The district we're combining with does not have, and everyone I talked to didn't know much about what Speakers Bureau was. And so we're assuming it will continue on. But the program that we're particularly proud of right now coming up, we have 4 people going for their qualified speaker. Typically, it's only about 2 or 3 in May. But in June, I have a past district governor and HR person for 15 or 20 years, probably. We have a person who was a member of the club this morning, and she is the president of her company, just newly the president of her company after HR for 10 or 15 years at least, human resources. And then the third person is our incoming district director, Sarah Carney, and she was in charge of educational program and has been dealing with HR at the nursing program in Ontario. So 3 experts in human resources. They're going to be put on a program called Acing the Interview. We're going to put out publicity to high schools and colleges, and we're hoping that is not only a benefit to our Toastmaster members, not only a benefit to the presenters that get to do that with an audience, but also a benefit. Maybe we might just get a few more young Toastmasters or even old Toastmasters who are worried about their interview. We've had, how many people have you ever had come to your club that said, I have an upcoming job interview and I want to know how to be able to perform, or I've failed 6 interviews for not being able to get the job I want. We'll bring in the experts and give them some suggestions on acing the interview. So that's really particularly proud of what we're going to do in June. Hopefully many of you will attend, whether it's in person or on Zoom. Either way, we are glad to have you there. Now, still looking for questions.
Some other ideas.
This is Annetta. I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
On what you just spoke about, the program upcoming for interviews. I understand that is interviewing, preparing someone for an interview, but would you also have someone that would be able to speak for someone that prepares to give the interviewer? In other words, maybe they have a new business and they're looking to hire expertise for their business. How to adequately prepare for that?
I think it will probably be both. I was impressed. Yeah, I was impressed. One of the ladies presenting, just in passing, not in actually preparing for this, but she mentioned how she has been the person sitting and having people come in and interview. And she noted that if the person, the interviewee, is directing everything toward the number 1 at this table, that is a negative, because you should be focusing on each person there rather than just trying to influence the person that you think is highest up in that organization. So I thought, oh, that's a great point to make, because people may not realize that you're taking into account all of these aspects of being a good interviewee.
And it's been very interactive. They mentioned that it was very interactive. So if you were there in person, it's a little arm twisting here. If you're there in person, you might actually be involved with being a part of the process of their doing the interviews and looking for.
Yes, Sarah also has a question. Thanks for answering that Anita's question, Connie and Tom. Sarah has a question too.
All right. Can I have a mic check?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So thank you so much. So I have a member in, there's a member in my Toastmaster, not mine, but there's a member in the Toastmasters club that I'm in who is actually really interested in becoming a better interviewee. So where can I give her information about the program, and can she attend online? You probably already answered the can you attend online question, but yeah, can you attend online?
Yes, you can attend online. If you can, I can give you our phone number and email. Actually, I'm very good about my email. Do not text me. You will never hear from me.
Yeah, same. Don't.
I don't do that much. I mean, I have received it and have said a couple, but I hardly even pay attention to my cell phone. But my email address, I will go over it slowly a couple times. T as in Tom, A as in Apple, and then part of my name, James, like a boy's name, James. So T.A. James at, and then like the old Pacific Bell Telephone Company, PAC Bell. So PACBELL.net. So T.A. James at PACBell.net. And the phone number, which is a home number, not a cell number. And that's what I prefer. And I can leave messages and all that. And I'm good. We check our messages multiple times a day unless we're out of the country or something. And the phone number is 951-780-7984. And of course, after all those years in Toastmasters, we're obviously retired, so we're likely to get phone numbers and phone calls anyway. So 951-780-7984, and we will make sure they get on the email list when the program is sent out, and it will include the link or at least the numbers and so on, so a person can get to it. But we're anxious to have people from everywhere.
Okay, I will. I'll email you and maybe BCC or CC her, and yeah, we can get together because she really does want to improve that. And we've been working with her, but hey, more ways to skin a cat.
Yep.
Yeah, it should be really valuable.
We've never had a program on cat skinning, but we'll look into that for the future.
No.
Ooh, hey,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're always thinking of new suggestions for programs, but pets and animals could certainly be one that we have not yet done. You're skinning the cat.
No skinning, no.
I did not intend to give you ideas about starting a program, but hey,
Yeah. We have a person who comes up with our flyers because, again, it's an area that we'd not be able to do nearly as well as she. Sharon Kenty, she comes up with each of our month's flyers, and we'll make sure that that is distributed also.
I don't get her the information. She cracks the whip really well and say, yes, ma'am. Okay, I'll get busy on that.
So I think this one about the interview will be really valuable for the Toastmasters, for people out in the community, various groups, and especially for the students that are a good time of year since they'll be graduating and thinking about going out and getting jobs and so forth. We mentioned that in December for a few years now, we've had the humorous and tall tales competitions with the recycled trophies. And those were great fun. But we were just talking that we haven't really had a program focused on Christmas or on Thanksgiving. And so I'm thinking for Thanksgiving, we might want to do for November something about tales of gratitude. I think people would be excited to share what they're thankful for, and that would be very heartwarming, very inspiring for us.
And Mother's and Father's Day was so well received. We may just do those again. If you might think about when your Speakers Bureau meets, if it happens to meet, for instance, we had one that met April 1. Well, that was obvious. You're going to have humor, right? We had this one that met actually on Pearl Harbor Day, and it was the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. That was where we put together this big program along with various service members and music from the 40s and all that sort of thing. And an element, a special element about that, it was a qualified speaker and a past district governor who put the whole program together. But the experience of organizing an entire program like that also is a talent that would be preparing people to help put on district conferences and that sort of thing in the future.
I think a couple times we had a club take over a meeting and conduct the entire meeting. So that was, again, an opportunity for a club to come together and divide up the duties and so forth that benefited the club and made other clubs maybe think, oh, hey, we should do that in the future, or come together and do a special program rather than our just weekly meetings. For Christmas, I think it'd be great to let people share about traditions and memories, either what they do now or way back to their childhood and so forth. We had something on careers, I guess, but I think that would be one that would also be of great value to invite younger people to come to. A day in the life of, and I don't know if they have as many programs as they did or should, as far as taking your child to work or being able to be out in apprenticeships and so forth, but to find out what is it really like to be a fill in the blank as far as a profession or a career. And I think that would be great of interest to the Toastmasters, but also it would be a time to invite maybe community members to take part, and then to invite young people to come and find out about them.
Let me have a little bit more about one of the questions that might come up is to why does someone want to be a qualified speaker? Now, I know someone who I have the greatest level of respect for and has been a Speakers Bureau chair, whose philosophy I severely disagree with. And their philosophy was that the only reason the Speakers Bureau existed is to prepare professional speakers to go out and get paid to speak. Well, that's a laudable goal, I guess, but I don't think it serves that many members. I don't know what percentage of the people in Toastmasters really want to become paid speakers. We'd all love to get paid, but whether that's a goal in life. But some, and so they would be this other person would be particularly offended if someone just came out just to become qualified and you never saw them again. And I don't have a problem with that. If they want to prove themselves, even just for their own benefit, that I can do that. I can put together a 20-minute program that is respected enough to be voted on. They don't end up serving the district. They may not end up serving the community, but that I would give them that right. But same thing, you have many, and we never realized there was that many people with strong passions. For instance, Connie's talking about giving blood would be a passion. Well, maybe coaching little league or whatever it is. You have many people in your district that have passionate and they would like to share that passion, and there are audiences that would like to hear about that particular passion, that particular. And we did that one time. We had the Red Cross and a few people come out representing community service organizations, and so that's certainly a program that you can put together and have local community projects that are supported that way. So the possibility of becoming a qualified speaker. Some people want to be well thought of, and so they can go and speak at, like I said, officer training or put on an educational program, or if a district requests. We really need to have people do more gavel clubs. What's involved with the gavel club? Most people don't know about that. I am excited about gavel clubs, and I think that's so important. I've spent years working with young people after. Well, both Connie and I spent 75 years teaching. She taught physically handicapped, and I won't go into the whole story, but my joke is that I teach the morally handicapped. But anyway, some people would have passions about topics, and the audience would. I am sure there's an audience for many of those topics. So, okay, do you have any more questions? I know we're using it all the time, and not enough time for the audience.
We're finding out from our car here that it's almost end of our time, so we didn't want to.
Let's see if our charge. Yeah, we're okay.
Oh.
I was afraid
Yeah.
my computer would die before we were done, but we're okay.
Oh, I lost the people.
Go ahead.
So, Tom, Aneta had a question asking about are gavel clubs and prison clubs is it like is it a separate program than the Toastmaster International, like a normal club? What I mean, I think she means is a gravel club and the prison club. Do they follow the distinguished club program, or is that the question, Aneta?
Okay, let's see how many questions there were in there. One of the things I did want to accentuate, I'll get to the prison clubs in a second. One of the things I wanted to accentuate is that I know district leaders, having been one, are always anxious to get a new Toastmaster. Anything, so I've had that brought up a number of times. So why don't we just make Speakers Bureau a club? It is not a club. We have never charged for admission, and we never expect any money out of them. We do expect the district to provide some money. We always, in all of these years, I always submitted, okay, I want about a $500 budget, only ever used it once. But it's part of marketing. It is marketing Toastmasters. And so I think it's a viable reason to set aside a few $100s. And that reason we used that money that one time was to buy pins. So now we have pins, and we all have pins. Even though there's a new district with a different number, we still have District 12 qualified speaker pins. So that's a possibility. There is always the possibility that you might once in a while have to pay for a location if you don't have a location. Locations might be difficult. As I said, when we started, they had sometimes reach into their own pockets to pay for a location and that sort of thing. But so that could be an issue. But and the prison clubs now, there used to be, we would have fundraisers to raise money to actually pay real dues, and these members in prison were real Toastmasters incognito, so we didn't get names or anything like that, but we supported them. But since their gavel club, in their infinite wisdom again, you notice once in a while I criticize Toastmasters International. Anyway, they tripled the cost of that it would be for a gavel club. So now they're using Toastmaster materials, and I think, and they're operating under a gavel club, overall gavel club arrangement, but they really can't make progress toward pathways and that sort of thing. they were using the original legacy materials. So
Yeah, so a gavel club is basically for individuals who could not join a Toastmaster club. So we've helped have gavel clubs for young people, those that are too young. And of course, if you're in a halfway house or a prison setting, that would be a good place to have a gavel club. But they get the confidence, they get the skills, and it really changes lives.
this is a passion of mine. But anyway, I really believe we don't get much of that. I've been a high school teacher and counselor for 35 years plus 36 years. And I think one of the greatest services Toastmasters can do is to go out, if it can happen, if you can talk the schools into it, of giving inspirational speeches to young people. They really don't hear enough of that. I've seen many kids actually change their lives by having, because I would have speakers come to my class and speak, and you could see major impact. This is what real life is like. I taught in a school where all the kids at the other schools had given up on them. They came to us, and I did that for 34 years, but at a continuation school where already the schools that they had given up, and their parents probably had given up on them. Most of them didn't believe they would live to be 30. So why should I improve my life? And we turned a lot of those kids around. But seeing real life, seeing people come out and give speeches to them, I think changed a lot of them. So one thing we can do, if we can get that opportunity to speak to kids, to go out and do that as role models.
And that brings to mind how Toastmasters can be a service to the gavel clubs. Tom and I, being retired educators, we have a passion for trying to help youth. And so we would go out and help if there's a gavel club around that needs somebody to come and help coordinate or just come as a one-time presenter. But there are a lot of other Toastmasters out there that are more than willing to go out and speak to youth. For the prison clubs, we have a couple individuals who have long time assisted with those, but some of us came for a speech contest at one of the women's facilities, and that was quite interesting, and we were serving a purpose. We were entertained and anxious to hear the types of speeches they'd give, but also we helped with being judges for that. So there are opportunities for the Toastmasters to help with the gavel clubs, as well as the gavel clubs, of course, in their own situation, helping individuals who can't join for Toastmasters right now.
On my soapbox a little bit, yeah, Rotary and Lions both have speech contests for young people. I always wonder, our nonprofit status, is that in jeopardy because of all of the organizations in the world? Shouldn't Toastmasters have a contest with scholarships and that sort of thing for young people? I've not gotten very many positive responses for those in charge of the checkbooks anywhere, but how could it make more sense? We do provide judges for Lions and Rotary and other organizations, and that is an excellent service. But I'm looking at the clock on the wall, and I sense the gavel, talking about gavel, is about ready to come down on us.
Yeah. Also, Tom, Safari has a question. I believe you cannot see that. That's why I'm saying.
Please, what is your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me this speech. I would like only to ask and to know if everyone has the right to be a member of Toastmaster, such as those one who served in another club like Rotary, Lion. Does them has the right to be a member of Toastmaster? Because here in my new clubs, I must get a member who served in.
Oh, you froze up a little bit.
But I usually answer them before. I don't know exactly if those one who served in different clubs can be the member of Toastmaster Club.
I'm not absolutely sure I understood the question, but one thing, would be an answer to a question maybe you didn't answer. And that is, anybody could belong to my speakers bureau, be a qualified speaker in my speakers bureau. I don't care if you're in India or Great Britain or wherever it is, but you have to belong to a club in District 12. That's the only consideration, but may not have been your
And
question.
it may be related to if you say you go to speak at Rotary or Kiwanis or Lions Club or whatever, can they belong? Well, hopefully when we go to present, we will be inspiring them to want to know more about Toastmasters. And of course,
they might bring information to share. So.
Yeah, they might want to come and present. Clubs might want to invite them to come and share about their organization. But of course, they're potential members of Toastmasters itself.
One thing I just thought of, I went and heard Nathan give a speech at a Rotary Club, and he was, like I said, I was involved with politics for a number of years, and he was better than any city councilman, mayor, or superintendent that I ever heard speak. And he's 22, right? And there were numbers of Toastmasters in the audience. 4 or 5 out of the 50 people were Toastmasters. I think it probably raised them in the eyes of the other Rotarians. Say, oh, you're a Toastmaster too? Just like this young person was. And so I think that probably stroked their ego just a little bit.
We had someone come over and say, because we had to arrive a little bit late, but we wanted to hear Nathan speak. And they said, oh, are you his parents? And no, wish we were. But the individual said, oh my goodness, what a bright young man. He said, I would have a hard time being in the role he's in. Now, he's, I think, only about 22 now.
22, yeah.
And here he was standing before this group of Rotarians. And what we observed was all question and answer.
At least 15 minutes of just questions on every kind of possible topic.
And he was so self-assured. He used such wonderful language, vocabulary, and gave such thought-provoking responses to the questions. Informative.
I joined when I was 27. I have a philosophy about Toastmasters that hopefully maybe some will carry with them. When you speak to young people so many of our members are not young, but if you think that Toastmasters has helped you to achieve things in your life when you joined when you were 40, can you imagine if you had joined when you were 20, how much it would impact your life for 20 more years at that youthful age in terms of being leaders or whatever it is that you want to accomplish in life.
So, thank you. Yes,
okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Connie.
Oh, no, I know we're at the time for the gavel to be pounded. I don't think that's the right word. But anyway, so we've enjoyed sharing with you. And as you can glean from this, that we are very enthusiastic about Speakers Bureau and would love to entertain any questions after this meeting's over, to contact us either email or phone.
Yeah, thank you, Connie and Tom. Thank you so much for sharing this wonderful information, and this is really helpful for all Toastmasters if they would like to continue their speeches and public speaking in a different path. That would really help them and a good opportunity for them. We do have a third speaker. She's here, Lena Joe. Let me introduce Lena. Lena has served in several key district leadership roles within Toastmasters, including contest chair, training chair, and currently as a public relation manager for District 100. Each of these roles has provided her with unique insight to leadership, engagement, and organized growth. Through her journey in public relation manager role, she has gained hands-on experience building visibility, strengthening brand presence, and driving membership growth. This is Lena's second session in public relation this in the learning lab, presenting in a public relation series, and today she'll be sharing practical insights, lesson learned, and strategies on public relation and membership, and how the two go hand in hand in building a thriving Toastmasters community. Lena, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Program Quality Director. Hello, everyone. As Amanga mentioned, I am the Public Relations Manager for District 100 this year. And today we are going to be talking about how you can boost your club's membership. We had two powerful sessions before this in today's Learning Labs. The first one was about the joy of club building, and the second one was about Qualified Speakers Program. And the message that is carried through all these presentations is how do we share that joy of Toastmasters with others? Each of us joined Toastmasters for a specific reason. Most of us to improve our communication, our public speaking skills, leadership skills. Some of us joined for the community. Whatever be the reason, as Tom mentioned, we've all gained several benefits through the Toastmasters program over the years. And it would be if we're not doing justice, if we are not sharing that with the others who can also benefit from this program, just like how we did. And the sooner we are able to get people in the Toastmasters experience, they get to start reaping these benefits from Toastmasters. As Umanga mentioned, this is the second part of the PR and membership presentation. The first one was what we had done the last Learning Lab session. For those of you who were not able to attend that, I have dropped the link in the chat, which has the recording to the part one of the PR and membership series. And today we're going to be looking at the part two of this presentation. So when we talk about boosting our club's membership, we did look at a two-pronged strategy for this. And for some of you who might have attended the first part, you would remember that we spoke about how building a club is very similar to how we would go with a sales pitch. When you're in sales, you have to ensure that you have to get new clients into your business as well as retain your current clients. And that's the same with Toastmaster clubs as well. We are here to see how we can share this benefit to new members, or the guests as we call them, as well as we want to ensure that we continue providing value for our current members. So that is why I look at this as a two-pronged strategy. And in the first part, we spoke about the social media aspect of public relations. We did a deep dive into that. And as I mentioned, if you've missed that, you can watch the recording for the social media presentation. Today, we're going to be looking at the other aspects from this slide. We're going to be talking a little bit about open house, about print media, speechcraft, and how to retain our current members. So I just wanted to give a quick recap of part one. That way it would help us remember those points that we discussed in part one, and that would be a good segue into the part two for today. So we did look at the key promotional elements in part one. And if you could recall, we said that this is something which is very important because whether you are promoting your club on social media or whether it is print media or any other platforms that you're using, it is important to communicate two aspects. The first one is, what is in it for me? So when you're promoting your club, what is the message you're trying to communicate to the potential members? Why should they join your club? Why should they attend a club meeting? It is important to clearly articulate what they are going to get by joining a club meeting. And the second point is, while you've communicated the benefits to them, what do they need to do to actually attend or join a club meeting? That is the call to action. And this was one of the examples that we studied in the previous session. I do remember that some of you, when we were doing a deep dive into this, some of you mentioned that you were drawn to some of the visuals in this flyer that you see. Some of you liked the socializing aspect, which is on the top right corner, and some of you liked the training aspect, which is in the bottom right corner. So each one of us had a certain thing that attracted us or drew us to this particular visual, this particular flyer. So it is important to call out the what is in it for you. So here is a club which is promoting its launch meeting, and it is saying that this is a club you can join if you are in the area of Azusa in California. Here is where you can join to gain confidence, whether you're in a socializing environment, whether you're having negotiations at work, you're having some training sessions that you need to conduct. In all these arenas, you are able to gain confidence as a public speaker and find your voice. So they have clearly called out the what is in it for you. And they have also mentioned the call to action, which is if you would like to join us and experience this meeting for yourself, this is where we meet. We meet every Thursday, and this is the location that we meet. So it is important to call out the aspects, which is what is in it for someone who's attending the meeting and what do they need to do to actually join for the meeting. We also spoke about how it is important to highlight your club's unique value proposition. And we did look at a few examples here where we said each club is unique. Even though we all come under the umbrella organization of Toastmasters International, each of our clubs have got a unique value that we give our members. And some of our fellow Toastmasters here, like Umanga and Aneta and myself, we are part of a club which is called Listening Earned, Speaking Learned, where we focus not only on our speaking skills, but also on our listening skills. And that is the value that we as members gain from that club. And that is what we are able to provide new members who are joining us. And the example I've shown here, this is another club from District 100, Humor Masters. And this club, as they have mentioned on their website and in their promotions, their brand of Toastmasters Club is where they infuse humor into practicing public speaking. So it is important that you call out your club's unique value proposition in any of the promotional material that you have, whether it's on social media or whether it's print media. It is important you call that because that is how you are communicating your value to your prospective members. So if someone is looking for a club where they get to practice public speaking as well as practice working on their humorous side of speaking, then they definitely would be drawn towards a club like Humor Masters, Toastmasters. And the third element that we focused on in the previous session was engagement. So it does not suffice that you only create posters about what your club is doing and what is the unique value and post it on social media, but it is also important for you to engage with your potential members. And some of the strategies we looked at for this was if you are able to tag your fellow club members, the example that I showed here, one of my clubs, Caltech Toastmasters, where anytime I post something on behalf of the club, I make it a point to tag my fellow club members. And how this helps is when I tag them, they receive a notification that you've been tagged in a certain social media post, and that draws their attention to that post. So it invites them to interact or engage with the post, and they are able to like it or share it further. That way, you are able to expand the reach of your social media promotions. So engagement is very important, using hashtags which are suitable to the Toastmasters program and making sure that you tag your fellow Toastmasters. So these were 3 points that we looked at in detail in the previous session. And in today's session, we are going to be looking at print and media, open houses, speechcraft, retaining current members. And I'm going to quickly touch upon specific things you can look at in terms of promotional strategies for in-person clubs and corporate clubs, because it is a known fact that the strategies that we look at for a fully online club can be very different from that of a fully in-person club, because the members that you're trying to connect with would be on different platforms. In a fully online club, mostly you're communicating through social media, whereas in a fully in-person club, you have different strategies you can look at in terms of physical flyers and print media that you can reach out to your potential members. So these are the points we're going to quickly go through in today's session. The first is print and media outreach. One of the things that you can look at is, especially as I mentioned, if you're an in-person club or if you're a hybrid club, that is, if you have at least some in-person or a physical component to your meetings, then definitely, in addition to social media, you can look at the print media, where you have physical flyers printed out, and you can look at various strategies or various platforms where you can promote these. So I just wanted to share an example of one of the districts. This is from the PRM of that district. They were kind enough to share some of the strategies that they are following in their district with me. And they tried to run this campaign where they had these posters put up, or these banners put up in various prominent places, which people would notice. And the best part is they had the QR code on the banner, because that is an easy way for people to just scan the QR code and to find more information about what this district or what Toastmasters is all about. So you can think of such options. You can find these banners that you can look at, or even your club meetings, if you would like to promote them, you can just have a very simple flyer printed out, and you can post that on some of the physical venues where your club is meeting. For example, if you're meeting in a library, or if you're meeting in a cafe or a restaurant, then you can have those flyers printed out and posted in those areas, which is easily visible by the guests who visit those areas. And that would invite them to want to know more and join one of your meetings. So definitely look at options if you are an in-person or a hybrid club, if you're able to have the physical printed media that you can use. Few other examples for print and media are newsletters. Newsletters is a great tool that you can use for your promotions. And the one that I have shown here is one of the newsletters that was designed by one of my team members, Johnny Taylor. Johnny was the past public relations manager of District 100, and she's part of the PR team this year. Johnny is an expert when it comes to newsletters. In fact, in my notes that I have shared with you in the chat, the resource document, there is a link which will have recordings of some of the VPPR sessions, training sessions that we conducted, one of which is Johnny's session on how to create or how to design a newsletter. So I would strongly encourage you, if you are looking at newsletter as one of your promotional strategies, please take a look at Johnny's session, the recording of Johnny's session. She talks about how you can design a good newsletter. And this is a club which is Unfiltered Toastmasters in District 100. And I like how the newsletter that she designs is very much on point to what this club stands for. As the name suggests, Unfiltered is a club where they have a free pass when it comes to usage of certain languages, colorful languages, if I might say. So this is a club where they have a lot of fun while practicing public speaking in a fun way. They're able to do that. So she tries to bring that true spirit of Unfiltered Toastmasters into her newsletters. And currently, I'm not part of this club, but I still look forward to receiving these newsletters from her, because I find them very engaging, and definitely every time I see it, it almost draws me back to that club. So if you're able to have these newsletters, which you can send out not only to your current members, but to your guests. That is a great way to continue engaging with them, because you never know. It might be one fine day when they receive this newsletter that they'll be like, okay, today is the day that I want to join Toastmasters. I want to join this club. So it is important to continue keeping in touch with your guests and continue engaging with them. And this is an example of the magazine that we have in District 100, which is, again, something that Johnny puts together every quarter. So definitely look at options, which if you feel this is something that is going to be helping your club, then definitely look at newsletter as an option. There are other aspects within print, which is press releases, and several clubs do reach out to the local news agencies within their cities, within their location areas, and they try to see if they're able to, especially if you have something important coming up. For example, in District 100, we had one of our clubs who celebrated their 100th charter anniversary a few months ago. So anytime you have something which is a celebration coming up, or you've had someone who's won a speech contest from your club, or you are conducting an open house or a special workshop, any of these, or even just, to promote your club as well, if you are able to look at a press release option, that is something which is definitely worth trying. This, in today's world, yes, we've completely moved on to a digital platform, but most of these press releases are available not only in physical print material, but it's also available on the digital platforms as well. So it'll be great for you to reach out to some of the local news agencies and see if you're able to promote your club through them. And this was an example that I came across recently, where one of the clubs in Reno, Nevada, they had joined in for one of the talk shows, and that was a platform that they used to promote their Toastmasters club. So the reason why I wanted to share all this is to let you know that there are so many platforms, several platforms for us to promote our club and to boost our club's membership. It's about deciding which one makes more sense for our club. If your club is if your club is a community club, and if it's a club that is fully online, then yes, social media might be the best platform. But if you're an in-person or a hybrid club, definitely see if you're able to look at things like print and things like podcasts as well. This is an example that District 3 conducts, where they have a podcast channel and they have speakers coming and talking about public speaking, about leadership skills, and that is another promotional strategy that they have in District 3. So that was some of the examples about print media. Now, the next thing we're going to look at in terms of how you can boost your club's membership is conducting an open house. And the reason why I have renamed open house on this slide to workshop or education session, there is a story behind that. This is something I learned from Cheryl Rausch. Cheryl had conducted a session for us on marketing like a pro. And in that session, she talks about trying to reframe the message of an open house. Because usually when you hear the word open house, you are most likely going to relate it to showing of a house where you're going into real estate and you're going to see see a place that's going to be on the market. But in Toastmasters world, open house is where you are inviting potential members or guests to attend one of your meetings so that they are able to get a glimpse of what your Toastmaster club is all about and how Toastmaster meetings are conducted. And that would help them make a better decision to join your club. So Cheryl talks about slightly tweaking this message, and instead of branding it as an open house, you could instead use words like workshop or an education session. That is something which would relate better to a non-Toastmaster. So let us look at some things that you can do when you're conducting your open house or your workshop sessions. The first thing is, it is important to promote well in advance. You need to give them enough notice when you're planning your open house or workshop for your club. And there are several platforms that you can use for promoting this. There are event platforms like Meetup, Eventbrite, and several others, which you can do. If you feel the need, you can even have paid advertisements for targeted towards a specific special session that your club is hosting. And in all these promotions, make sure you talk about what is in it for them. Why should someone attend this particular meeting? And talk about your club's unique value proposition. It is a good idea when you have these open houses or workshops to feature a guest speaker or a subject matter expert. And in the following slides, I will share with you a few examples for this particular point. And the reason why this is important is when you are promoting this as a special event where you have a subject matter expert, you will notice that people will be drawn to this meeting just because of the topic that you are going to teach them through the workshop or because of that subject matter expert that you have. And in our previous learning labs, we were talking about how there were some programs that were being planned about preparing for interviews. That could be a great workshop that you could conduct as part of your open house. So instead of having it as a very generic Toastmasters meeting, if you can focus on some specific pain point or specific area of interest for your target audience, you'll realize you'll find better results when you're trying to attract people. So if someone is preparing for an interview or if someone is preparing for a work presentation, and if you have a workshop around that particular theme, then they are going to be drawn more to your open house or the workshop that you're planning. So it's important to feature this workshop, the topic, and the subject matter expert. And once you put together your open house event or your workshop, it is important to have the right person in every role. Now, what do I mean by right person in every role? This is something that we discussed in one of the previous learning labs as well. You don't want to have your best speaker be the one who's presenting in a Toastmasters open house event. And the reason behind this is you don't want it to be a feeling of intimidation for your guests, because when guests join in, most likely they're joining because they are nervous about public speaking and they are trying to strengthen their communication skills. And when they attend a meeting and they see someone who's very eloquent and someone who's a great speaker, they might feel that, okay, maybe this place is not for me. Maybe I still have a long ways to go to get here. But if you're able to have someone who's gone through the Toastmasters program and who's actually gone through, that journey of struggling through your communication and how they've been able to benefit from the Toastmasters program and become a better communicator today. In fact, they could talk about that in their speech. They could share their experience of what they gained through Toastmasters in their speech. Then that would be a good experience for your guests because it'll be more relatable to them. So that is why I mentioned have the right person in every role. And be intentional with your invites. When you plan for an open house, it's not like you put together a flyer and then you have a mass email broadcast that goes out saying, hey, we are having this open house next month. You are invited. It is important to be intentional with your invitation. There are certain things that you can do to reach out to people. Each of your club members can reach out to their family and friends and their work team members, because the power of having those individual invitations can go a long way. And if you are having an open house, you can also think about inviting some of your past members, those who haven't continued their Toastmaster journey in your club. Could be for various reasons. They wanted to take a pause because of things that happened in their life. But it might be good to reach out to them because maybe now their situation has changed and maybe they're in a position to rejoin Toastmasters. So it is important to be intentional and reach out to some of your past members as well. And definitely the guest list that you have of all the guests who've joined your club meetings over the years, it's a good practice to maintain that guest list, that running guest list, and reaching out to them individually as well when you're having an open house. And yes, if you're a corporate club, definitely it is important to work with your human resources team and with your leadership and invite them to be maybe a guest speaker at your open house, because when you have someone from the leadership attend your open house when it's a corporate club, you can be rest assured that you will have quite a few people attending just because they know that there is a leader who is going to be present at that meeting. And yes, come for the conversation, stay for the snacks. It is a great idea to have some refreshments that you will have at the end of your open house meeting. I've heard of this being a success in several clubs when they've had their open house, that this might be a good strategy to invite people as well when you have refreshments. And finally, make it a point to hand out the membership form to the potential members immediately after your open house meeting or the workshop that you're conducting. It is important that you help them make that decision, because many of them might be sitting on the fence. They've attended this great meeting and they feel they can gain a lot of benefits from this, but maybe they still are not ready to make that decision. So when you're handing out that membership form to them, that is something which is guiding them towards that decision making. And this is a great tip from Toastmasters International, where they suggest that you can print the membership application form on the back of your meeting agenda, and that way you're handing it out to your potential members for them to fill in the information and submit their membership form to you. So make sure that you follow up with your potential guests, because it doesn't end with that one meeting. You have to follow up with them. You have to continue engaging with them. That way you don't lose momentum and you don't lose them. Before we move into the case studies, I just wanted to see, Umanga, are there any questions in the chat?
I cannot see any question, Lena.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any question, please raise your hand and ask. You can ask it. Thank you.
Okay, so we will look at a few examples for how clubs can promote their open house meetings and try to attract members to attend those open house meetings. This is an example of a club. They are calling it an open house, but what I liked here is they are explaining what an open house is. I liked the touch that they brought into that aspect of the promotion. So they are talking about an open house is an invitation to observe and discover what Toastmasters is while watching confidence grow and voices come alive. So they are clearly articulating that this is what you can expect by attending this particular meeting. And then they go into details about why it is important for you to join an open house. What are you going to benefit by attending this meeting? And the QR code is there for the registration part of it. So this is one example I wanted to share with you. And this is another one where this is also an open house, but they are promoting this as a workshop where they're going to be focusing on how to master your body language. So body language is something which is very important when it comes to public speaking, when it comes to presenting in front of an audience. And this club chose this as one of the special topics to conduct in their workshop. That way, anyone who's looking to work on their gestures, looking to work on their body language, they would be drawn towards this particular promotional strategy for this club. And this is another example of an open house where they are again featuring a special theme where they're going to be talking about evaluations. So they are promoting this as an evaluation masterclass. And the speaker here, the guest speaker here, is one of the well-known Toastmasters, right up to the Toastmasters World Championship of Public Speaking, for say. So here they are focusing on that subject matter expert part, where he is an expert on, per se, is an expert on evaluation. And if you attend this masterclass, you will be able to learn strategies on how you can give constructive feedback and how you can make your evaluations impactful. So here they're clearly talking about what is in it for you when you attend this open house or this workshop that we are conducting. So these were some of the examples I wanted to share with you, and I'll take a pause here before we move to the next point in our presentation, the next part of the presentation. Any thoughts that you would like to share on the topic of print and media or open houses, something that you did in your club that worked out well, and if you would like to share that with others on the call, would anyone like to share your experience?
Hi, Lena. This is Annetta.
Yes,
I'm
Annetta.
unable to turn on my video at this time, but my question comment is going back to where you talked about the reframing.
Mhm.
I made a comment in the chat. It is very vital to do that and not feel like you are undermining Toastmasters, or when you are speaking about Toastmasters, always speak benefits, benefits, benefits. And you so eloquently gave us great visuals of what that looks like, QR codes. That speaks to a generation. I don't have time to take in everything on this flyer that I see, but I know I can snap that QR code and keep it moving. And I've had people who did just that.
Yeah.
I have an opportunity to, I have an opportunity to place an ad in my church's convention conference coming up. And I thought, what would be the best way besides saying this is a Toastmasters club, you're welcome, couple of benefits, but really make that pop and stand out. And you just gave that to me. And I thought, I'm going to do a quarter page size. What would you recommend? How could I use that space and not make it too wordy, but make it pop, as they say, to stand
Yes.
out?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that question, Aneta. Yes, using the space efficiently in your promotions is very important because you don't want to have a flyer which has too much information and your audience are getting lost in all that information. So focus on having just those key points that you would like to capture your audience attention with. The first thing is, what is in it for them? Why should they attend? What is the benefit that they're going to get? And a good tactic is have just very short bullet points rather than very long sentences or paragraphs, because people are not going to read through those paragraphs. So you can use the rule of three, just have 3 bullet points or at the maximum 5 bullet points for what are the benefits that you will get by attending this particular meeting. And then you can talk about when you're having this meeting. You can talk about what they need to do to attend this meeting. Is there a registration option? And yes, QR codes is a great tool that you can use, because that way they can easily scan that and they are able to land on the registration page and go ahead and submit their registration to attend that meeting. So make it a point to have minimal information on your flyer and call out these specific things. And a good example for you, Aneta, is the workshop that Cheryl Rausch had conducted, which is on marketing like a pro. She actually does a deep dive into this. So when you have a flyer, even simple things like the visuals you use on the flyer, let's say you have the picture of a person on the flyer, it is important to make sure that that person is looking inward to the flyer and not outwards, because the psychological aspect over there is if they're looking outwards, you as a reader, your visual is also moving out of the flyer rather than inward. So these are small elements that we can keep in mind when we are designing flyers. You would want to, in fact, if you have a picture of a person pointing to something, make sure their finger is pointing exactly to, a particular key point where maybe it's the registration link. Register here, and then you have a picture of someone pointing to that link. So things like that, small design elements that you can keep in mind to make sure that you have an impactful flyer. And the key thing is the hook. You need to have a hook, because if you have so much information and finally, if they're not registering, that means you've lost them. You've not given them that hook. And that hook is the what is in it for them. Why should you attend?
Lena, there is a question in the chat that I believe you took this Island City Toastmasters flyer from somewhere, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why, Lynn, actually I tried to, after Lynn added into the chat, that one is not working. Maybe it's already passed.
Yeah, this is
it is a 2025. That's
Yeah.
why, Lynn, it is not happening. I
Yes.
just wanted to comment for her question.
Yeah, this is an event in the past, but I just wanted to share it as an example with you because I liked how they were reframing the open house as a masterclass in evaluation, and that is something which is more relatable to your audience rather than just saying open house.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Umanga. We will move on to the next. These are some resources of the open houses. It is there in the Word document that I've dropped in the chat. I would strongly encourage you to take a look at these when you have some time. It will give you more insights into how you can conduct an efficient open house event. Our next topic for today is Speechcraft. Speechcraft is known as the #1 membership building tool in Toastmasters. And we did hear about Speechcraft in our previous Learning Lab sessions today as well. And that is for a reason, because Speechcraft is something that several clubs have gained benefit from when it comes to growing membership in their club, especially if your club is currently having a membership of 9 and below, then this is a tool that you can use to grow that membership of your club. So what exactly is Speechcraft? I want to give you an overview of what the program is and what are the benefits of the program. And in the Word document that I have dropped in chat, I have the links to all the resources regarding Speechcraft. And there were a few training sessions that we had specifically around Speechcraft in District 100 Learning Labs last year. One was by Cheryl Rausch and another one was by Anne Golden. I have the recording of those sessions, the links to that in the Word document. That will be useful for you if you are planning a Speechcraft for your club. So Speechcraft, in a nutshell, is a condensed version of the Toastmasters experience. And this is for non-Toastmasters. So they are not members as yet. You are inviting them for the Speechcraft program, which is typically conducted either 4 or 6 or 8 weeks duration. And the non-Toastmasters who are attending this get a glimpse of what a Toastmasters meeting is all about, or the Toastmasters program is all about. They get to learn aspects about table topics, improvisation speaking. Then they learn aspects about evaluations. How do you give constructive evaluations? About how do you prepare a speech? How do you craft a speech? So all the aspects that we as members learn through the Toastmasters program is condensed into this speechcraft, which is conducted as a workshop, either for 4, 6, or 8 weeks, depending on what your club chooses. And clubs who have conducted this have observed that they were able to attract guests, especially when they are working towards something specific like job interviews, like what we discussed earlier in the learning labs, or if they have a work presentation coming up and they need practice around that. So specific needs or specific pain points that your guests have, they would be attracted to attend this speechcraft program. And once they have been through the speechcraft program and they've seen the benefits of what the program offers, they are likely to join as members. So that is how you connect the speechcraft program into them becoming members. And when it comes to membership, we all talk about the magic number 20, and that is the charter strength for clubs as well. So through speechcraft, you are able to infuse maybe 10 or more members who join your speechcraft program, and they would most likely sign up to be members after the speechcraft program to continue the benefits that they gained through speechcraft. So to know more about this, I have the resources in the document, and I would invite you to take a look at that, where it talks about how to exactly go about this with the speechcraft. How do you conduct it? You have to buy a digital bundle. Your club has to buy a digital bundle. And once you get that digital bundle, you'll have access to 5 speechcrafters. They are the people who attend the speechcraft. And then you have speechcraft coordinators, which will be most likely your club members. Or if you feel you don't have members within your club who can conduct this workshop, you can feel free to reach out to the district leadership team. They would be able to help you find members who can conduct a workshop for you. And this is a good way to re-energize your existing members as well. If you are able to motivate them to take on the role of trainers or take on the role of mentors, you're able to re-energize their purpose within Toastmasters as well. The next aspect we're going to talk about is how do we retain current members? So till now, we were looking at how do we invite new members to our clubs. If I can take you back to the 2-pronged strategy that we spoke about, inviting new members and retaining current members. Things like social media, the print and media, or open houses, or speechcraft, all these will help you attract new members. And there are things that we need to keep in mind for our current members as well, because you want them to continue finding value in the Toastmasters program. It is when they feel that continued value, that continued purpose, that they would continue their journey in Toastmasters and become lifelong Toastmasters. So there are things that we need to focus on for our current members. And I have broken this down into 2 parts. The first thing is to ensure that you are having engaging, high-quality meetings. We did talk about situations where sometimes you have only 3 or 4 members attending your club meetings, and you might have this question, do I still go ahead and have the meeting? And we had someone say that you still run the meeting because for the members who joined in that day, you want to make sure that they get benefit from the meeting. So you still make sure that you have someone give a prepared speech and you have practice for table topics. So it is important that as a club, you make an intentional effort to have high quality meetings. And there are several things you can look at to help you through this process. And that is what is listed in this slide. So things like having themed meetings. That is a great way for you to have some variety, to mix things up a little bit. If there is a holiday coming up, you can have a holiday themed meeting, or if there is some important event that is coming up, you can have something around that. An example is in our Caltech Toastmasters, last month we celebrated Pi Day. And for Caltech Toastmasters who geek out on things like anything technology, that was a great theme for us to have for our meeting and for our table topics. So be on the lookout for how you can spice things up by having these meeting themes. You can have a guest speaker or an expert who's delivering a workshop, brief workshop in one of your meetings. That is a great way to, again, revitalize your club, because when they are hearing a guest speaker, there is more information for them to learn from. So that is a value that they see in attending your Toastmasters meetings. You can think of things like reverse meetings. Just yesterday on Facebook, I saw one of the clubs had conducted a reverse meeting. That is where you completely flip the script, you go backwards. And let me tell you, it is not easy to have a reverse meeting. It can get super confusing, but it can be super fun as well. So that is something you can look at when you want to slightly mix things up. Having speechathons. If you are working towards pathways, and especially now, given that we have only 2 months left in this Toastmasters year, and all of us are trying to cross that finish line with our education goals, you could have a speakathon event in one of your clubs where you have at least 5 or 6 people giving their speeches and have written evaluations. That way, people are able to get their pathways in time. Then there are things like Pecha Kucha. In fact, if we have time towards the end, we'll do a round of Pecha Kucha. I don't know, has anyone heard about Pecha Kucha? Okay, Umanga has heard.
I
So
have
this is,
done it. It is super fun.
yes, I would call this as a twist on table topics. So you have images that are going to be shown to you, and whenever an image comes up, you have 20 seconds to talk about that image, and then it moves on to the next image. So you have 5 images that you need to talk 20 seconds each on. And that can be a fun way to have a twist on table topics. If time permits, we will do a round of Pechakucha towards the end. But all this is to let you know that there are so many things you can look at to make your meetings engaging, to make them have that variety element. Fun meeting roles like a joke master. And in our listening on club, we have the role of a listener. So some roles which are specific to the value that you offer in your club is something you can look at. If you have any anniversaries coming up, celebrating that is a great way to re-energize your current members, to make sure that they continue seeing that social circle that they are part of, or like what Jean, our second vice president, said, you're creating a home. So this is a home outside our home. And events like celebrations, when you're having an anniversary or any social gathering, is a great way to give them that feeling of the community that they are part of. So this is the first aspect of re-energizing your current members. And the second aspect, which is all the more important, is supporting your members in achieving their goals. I want to take a pause here and reiterate what I just said. Supporting members in achieving their goals. When members join Toastmasters to improve their communication and public speaking skills, they have joined with a certain endpoint in mind. And they have goals. It could be short-term goals, it could be long-term goals. When we are able to ensure that the program continues providing them value for them to meet those goals, you have Toastmasters for lifetime in your club. So as club members, as club officers, it is important for us to ensure that we are providing that value for our members. It might mean you would have to tweak your meetings a little bit. For example, the point I spoke about, the speakathon. If you have members who are working towards pathways and they feel they are just not getting their pathways completed in time because you have only 1 speech or 2 speeches every meeting, tweak your meeting to have a speechathon. That way you have many of them completing their pathways quickly and they're able to meet their goals. So be on the lookout for what your members' goals are and see how you can help them achieve those. Celebrate your member successes and make sure that they are able to join the dots or see that connection between how they meeting their individual goals is contributing to the club meeting its overall goals. When they're able to see that connection, you can show them the Distinguished Club Program dashboard and show them how, as a club, if you meet 5 education goals, you are eligible to be a distinguished club. And if I were to say, Umanga, are you working towards your level 1? And Anita, if you're working towards your level 2, Patrick towards your level 3, and Volanda towards your level 4, and I'll do a level 1. And that way, when you're able to show them that connection, that individually, if each of us are meeting our goals, as a club, we are able to meet our goals as well, they are inspired to work on it all the more. And this is from a HR perspective that I'm sharing this, because in a HR viewpoint, yes, we need to see how we're able to show our employees how they fit into the organization and how what they do matters in the larger scheme of things. And quickly to touch upon in-person clubs and corporate clubs. In-person clubs, we did talk about the flyers with QR codes earlier as well. Few other things that you can do in addition to your social media promotions are trying to participate in community engagement. And this is an example, the picture over here is an example of one of our District 100 clubs, Dynamic Toastmasters Club 587, where they attended a Bell Gardens holiday parade as a group. So if you have opportunities to represent your club, to promote your club at some of the local events. I recently saw another club, I believe it was Covina Breakfast Club in District 100, who had set up a booth at a farmer's market. So there are several things like this, especially if you're an in-person club where you want to reach out to people in the local community and let them know about your club, then see if you're able to participate in some of these events. If you can have a Toastmasters booth at one of the fairs, these are things that you can look at. And finally, when it comes to corporate clubs, the strategy is again a little different, because here your target audience is within the organization. So you might want to look at promotion within the organization's social media platforms. So if you have any internal bulletin boards, if you have any internal newsletters or internal communication channels like Slack or Teams chats. So these are some of the things that you can look at, because a Facebook or an Instagram might not be the best fit for you when you are part of a corporate club. And definitely look at how you're able to get support from your human resources department and senior leadership, because that can go a long way to ensure that you have the guidance for your corporate club for it to continue running in your organization. And I have a workshop that we conducted by past public relations manager Julie Murphy, specifically on corporate clubs. The recording for this, the link is available in the document that I have shared. So I would encourage you to take a look at that as well. And this is just an example of an open house that was conducted at a corporate club, where they're clearly calling out that this club is open to all Hawaiian Electric employees. And I loved how they had the guest speaker as one of their directors. And this is something, as I mentioned earlier, when you have a leader show up at one of your corporate club events, that is a great promotional tactic, because you can attract so many people who want to, so many employees in the organization who want to hear what this leader has to share with us. And that way you can attract several prospective guests to your corporate club. So the key takeaways, we spoke about several things in part 1 and part 2. We spoke about social media, print media. We spoke about open houses, speechcraft, and retaining current members. And it is important for you to choose as a club which is the best platform for you. And we saw the examples. If you're a corporate club, having internal communication or being on platforms like LinkedIn might be helpful. Whereas if you're a community club, especially a fully online club, looking at social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook might be helpful. So it is important for you to choose the best fit for you in terms of which platform you would like to promote, and focus on what is your club's unique value proposition. That way you can connect with your target audience. And finally, engagement is important. It is not just sending out the communication and leaving it at that. You have to communicate with your prospective members and draw them into that community. So with this, I will stop sharing and see if we have any questions in the chat. I see that, Umanga, you've been responding to questions, and thank you for that.
Yeah. So we are good about the question. If you have any question, please ask. And if
Yeah.
not,
I'd just like to say, Lena, thank you for reminding me of the resource that you had shared in your session 1. I will actually open it because I need those resources now. Thank you again for leaving those nuggets and making this time more intentional. Thank
yes.
you very much.
Thank you. Absolutely, yes. Take a look at all those recordings, and they are all experts in those specific areas. So especially Cheryl Rausch is an expert at marketing, and it's a great resource for us to learn from. And yes, I know we are over the hour, but if anyone would like to stay on for 1 minute and play Pecha Kucha, you are free to stay on, but I don't want to hold up everyone. So we can let some of them who would like to leave, but the others, if you want to play, we can quickly play that.
Okay. So let me finish this one, and then we can do
Sure.
that pick a kucha session if anybody is interested.
Sure.
Thank you again, Lena, having such a wonderful presentation and bringing fantastic points and sharing with us. Also, thanks for reminding the previous session's key takeaway and fabulous session. We would love to have you as a PRM in District 100 as well as our special guest speaker. Also, I would like to remind you all in our next session, we do have a two speakers. It is going to be next week, May 3rd. And one first speaker at 8 o'clock is Aneta Worksally, and Aneta is going to talk about club membership building program. And the second speaker is myself, and I am going to talk about moments of truth. This is May 3rd, first Sunday of the month learning lab session. Also, thank you so much, everyone. Today we had 3 sessions and staying up to this time. And I wish you all to have a good rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Manga.